Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to the Canary Cry News Talk live stream pre-stream. Now, here's the thing, folks. If you haven't been listening, haven't been taking my advice, you're gonna miss today's show. And that's because Face Like the Sun YouTube channel has been stricken. We'll talk more about that during the show, but you're probably only watching this on Twitch or Canary Cry Radio YouTube channel. And so all of you who listened to your good buddy and followed us on a backup channel, you get to watch the live stream. Congratulations. To all the rest of you, let this be a lesson. Now, here's the thing, folks. We've got a great show. We're going to get started in just a second. But, it's almost not even worth it telling you to follow us on youtube.com/canarycryradio or twitch.tv/canarycryradio, because that's the only way you're listening. But I will take this opportunity for those who are on Canary Cry Radio, YouTube, or Twitch. You might want to think about checking us out on DLIVE. That's right, DLIVE, folks. That's right, you've done it. But yes, Twitch, of course, owned by Amazon, and YouTube is still YouTube. So as we continue to future-proof the live stream, make sure to go over to DLive and make an account. Follow us, Canary Cry Radio. That's the thing, folks. And another reminder, follow our mailing list by heading to canarycrynewstalk.com. Go into an episode page, join the mailing list. All right, as usual, stay hydrated. Let's go.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is April 7th, 2021. This is episode 321, 321. And today, Double Mutant Dragon. And you know me, I am not the Antichrist, but I am your best buddy, Basil.
Whoa, that'd be scary if you are the Antichrist. I'd have to smite you. I'd have to strike you down. And I'm just an Asian American being cyberbullied and harassed by YouTube.
Oh, of course.
My name is Gonz. Welcome to the podcast where we praise Jesus while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And thank you for all the people watching live and listening later, as we experienced a situation this morning.
Oh, yeah, we've been saying it.
Yeah, and 321, happy birthday, Jackie Chan. And on the birthday of the Asian idol, Jackie Chan, YouTube decides to censor the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel. How dare they?
On this, the day of Jackie Chan's birth?
Yes.
Wow. That's even more of a smack in the face.
I know.
To our Asian American friends and family.
Yeah, so I had a warning for a video that I made last summer, June 16th. Truthers don't get played, debunking claims about George Floyd. There's a lot of stuff about George Floyd's surveillance footage saying he's a dummy or he's not real. There's a whole bunch of stuff. He doesn't have his chest tattoo. I made a video saying, hey, just don't fall for all that misinformation type of stuff. There's plenty to consider with that whole situation with the Freemasons and all kinds of stuff without being carried away with the less verifiable type of stuff. Yeah, harassment and cyberbullying. So, I got my warning strike back then. And then today, which is April 7th, YouTube took down a video or a podcast episode of Canary Cry News Talk, episode number 232, Devils in the Politics, which was published back in, I want to say, August of 2020. So, 8 months ago.
Yeah.
For harassment and cyberbullying.
I want to know, who did we cyberbully?
That's what I want to know. I would really like to know
Jeff Bezos or something.
Either Bezos or Jews, something like that.
Jeez.
I'm just saying.
We do not cyberbully anybody.
We don't, but I'm saying YouTube might have heard the word Jew and,
Well, okay, I don't think you should keep saying that because we don't know what it was. And if that was the case, you're just repeatedly kicking in the algorithm. So stop it.
I will not be censored, Basil.
Well, you obviously will and have been and will be in the future. So anyways, yeah, there you go. And it just surprises me. I don't know, man. Sometimes I don't even know why we try. Every single episode, we tell people don't rely on one YouTube account or one way of getting the show. And of course, as is evident by today's numbers, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people did not take my advice, and so they don't get to view the live stream. Well, what are you going to do? You got to listen to your buddy.
Yeah, so the Face Like the Sun channel is locked out for a week. And you know what's really interesting? And this is why we know that this whole thing is just a joke. The Canary Cry Radio YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Canary Cry Radio, we stream on both channels, the Face Like the Sun channel and the Canary Cry Radio channel. So if it really was an issue, they would have taken down the video on the Canary Cry Radio channel as well. But they don't.
Well, that's less effective because the Canary Cry Radio channel has less viewers. And it's not about making sense or using logic. It's about cutting the most amount of people off from information they don't want to get out there.
But I will say that back on March 5th, we did receive our warning strike on the Canary Cry Radio YouTube channel. And that was for Dirty WACCINE Power Play, episode 304 of Canary Cry News Talk. And we violated community guidelines, which was spam, deceptive practices, and scams.
Did we scam? What did we scam?
Apparently, we either scammed, we practiced deceptively, or we spammed people. I don't know which one it was. They won't tell us. But I appealed. And the appeal was rejected. So I really wish if there's, obviously, we're not like Louder with Crowder. We have a half Asian lawyer, just on standby, able to, go at YouTube or whatever. And our audience isn't as big. Crowder gets like 100,000 people per stream or whatever watching live. So he's got a little more weight to throw around in regards to fighting the big tech stuff like YouTube. We don't, but it is what it is, and, we appreciate all those who are actually here today live.
If we were going to run a scam, we're not very good at it. We need to find a better, more profitable scam to run. But anyways, and the reason I need to give a big thank you to someone over on Twitter, because the reason I had to mention that I wasn't the Antichrist at the beginning of the show was because for a while, I had 666 Twitter followers.
Oh. And
I thought, surely somebody will see this and, click follow just to get the number changed. But no, the people just let me sit there for too long. But I do want to thank Danny M. for following this morning and getting me up over that 666 number.
Which, by the way, I think Age of Deceit 3 is sitting at 666,000 views right now. So if you want to go click on that a few times to get me out of the range.
Out of the zone. And
I did tweet out to YouTube, "Stop Asian Hate." And I don't think Twitter is allowing me to share it with anybody.
Well, you didn't just tweet "Stop Asian Hate." You sort of laid out the whole situation, and of course, jujitsu or aikidoed the hashtag "Stop Asian Hate" to bring the ire of social justice warriors onto YouTube, but to no avail because, it's
to have the social justice army behind me. Where are you, SJWs? Come defend me.
Well, you're not part of the club, so that doesn't count.
I'm not woke. I got a phone message from them.
Are you even woke?
They're very skeptical of my wokeness, so I didn't get the...
Well, let's stop complaining about ourselves and go ahead and start the show.
No, I want to keep complaining.
No.
Here's what I want to say to YouTube.
Do not come back, you Nazi psychopaths.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
That's right. For those who are new to the show, Flippy is the colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways that robots are taking over the world, and there's nothing we can do about it. This is a little bit of a mix, Gons. It's kind of a Flippy update with some Chinese news. And a little bit of a shorter one, so don't freak out, anybody. But it was just an exciting piece of news that was floating around recently in the headline. It's over here on Daily Mail, so it's a long one. Where is the Skynet logo? Chinese robotics firm shares terrifying video of its four-legged robots moving in unison that Twitter users say could be the start of a robot takeover.
The start. I like how this is the start.
Yeah, I know. Daily Mail is just getting on the train of the robot takeover. This is one of the more painful parts of being ahead of our time, Guns.
Yeah.
A robot takeover is the plot of many science fiction films, yada, yada, yada. A user shared a clip from Chinese-based Unitree robotics firm that shows a squadron of four-legged machines moving in unison. The AI-powered canine-like robot named Aliengo dun, 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 is designed with depth perception, high explosive sport performance. What? High explosive sport performance. What are they trying to sell? A pre-workout? I think they're just trying to get the SEO of high explosive in there. And an advanced protection level, among other features. The short video shows dozens of robots crouch down on the floor, but then spring up to a squatting position, leaning forward, then return to their original position, all at the same time. However, the video has sparked some funny and terrifying responses on Twitter, with some likening to a scene from The Terminator and Black Mirror. So this is nothing new to listeners of this show, but the big thing here is it takes the robot squadron to be Chinese to really get people all worked up.
Yeah.
But the thing I kind of wanted to focus on was this is very reminiscent of Spot from Boston Dynamics, and we know how China feels about intellectual property, so I'm sure there was some corporate espionage to get some of these designs down. But I will say this, as we dive a little bit more into the analysis of the robot takeover, and now that normies are kind of starting to wake up, what might be the trigger for this stuff? Because, of course, Canary Cry News Talk listeners have been on board with, observing this slow robot takeover for many years now. But I think it is the what is the word that they used here? Hold on, let me get it. Unison. Videos of robots working in unison really gets the people fired up. And it's very interesting because Spot the Robot Dog, the Boston Dynamics version, has been around for a very long time. I mean, I believe at least 10 years since they've at least had prototypes of it. So this is nothing new. But as we've seen with different social media videos that come out, the ones that get the most attention are when there's multiple robots working in unison. And I think this is triggering some sort of deep primal fight or flight complex within the human mind, because there's just something about it. I don't know. It's
you know what it is? It's
reminiscent of Nazis.
Yes.
Also, communist China, where they have soldiers marching in unison and doing things like that.
It's all the predictive programming that have taken place over the years, including the Clone Wars. You have literally the robots.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm showing
Star
it for anybody
Wars,
watching.
Clone Wars.
on screen, the robots working in unison, pulling out their guns and turning around.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the only context they ever see robots moving in unison is in science fiction, where there's war and destruction and space and all the things that bring us into this crazy New World Order type of situation. So I think that's why they're...
Well, now some of the response tweets that Daily Mail were referring to here, again, give an interesting window into, people kind of just waking up to this sort of thing. They have a tweet here from Mr. V. I can see China trying to militarize this technology in order to invade the U.S. Oh, you really? You can see that? You think so, huh, Mr. V? No, of course China is militarizing these robot dogs. They don't have any laws or, at least Boston Dynamics, you void your warranty if you weaponize the dog, the robot dog. But as we know how the CCP works in China there, as a corporation, you don't have any major success without having ties into the government. In fact, big corporations in China have a department, much like how you'd have a HR department or a logistics department or whatever, management teams. There's a department in every big corporation that is the CCP liaison department, where you have a direct connection to the government, where they sort of guide your things. So yes, these robots were never created, unlike Boston Dynamics. They were never created outside the context of weaponizing and militarizing them, and especially when it comes to the surveillance system in China. These robot dogs. We had Digi Cuomo, the New York City Police Department's robot dog, that they were explicit about saying they're not going to weaponize. We're just using it for surveillance. And so, of course, the CCP say, oh, okay, yeah, that gives us a wonderful idea. We got to get these robot dogs to patrol the streets. There are 100 in their mission. What was the name of the operation? They have an operation to have 100% surveillance in urbanized or residentialized areas in China by, I think it was 2025.
Yeah, 2025 or 2030, one of the two.
Yeah.
So
then, of course, some other tweets. This reminds me of an episode from Black Mirror. Yes, there was a Black Mirror episode called Metalhead that had a robot dog hunting people. Where's the Skynet logo? Yes, of course. How far behind is China, the U.S., and AI? About 12 hours, says, hey, it's Debug. So there you go.
Sorry, a little late on the drum roll, but
yeah. So there you go. China has now mass-produced Spot the Robot Dog and is very excited about putting them to use.
Since Asians can't pronounce L's very, very well, the Aliengo, it's actually Aryan. It is racist.
Oh,
Aliengo.
Yeah, good catch.
Yeah. You didn't think about that one, did you?
No, I didn't. I'm too woke for that, Gons.
Too woke. Yeah, it's again, it's interesting because I guess we're desensitized a little bit to the reality of this thing, but more and more people are recognizing it. But I've noticed that nothing.
We've just had more time to process.
Yeah, more time to process. But notice how nothing's being done about it. Like, there's not much being done. It's more just people freaking out on social media. Yeah. And that's about it.
Well, it's always good to have more awareness. But, as not that we need to go on any further or much further with this. Of course, the Biden administration is good buddies with the CCP. Biden admittedly has spent more one-on-one time with Xi Jinping, the president of China, than any other world leader. They're good buddies. But you have further down in the chain of command, you have people in the Pentagon, head of Homeland Security, they've all been going pretty intense on this China's beating us thing, and we need to do something about it. So we'll see if anything happens. But there you go. Your Flippy update for the day is China now has their own army of Spot the Robot Dog.
Yep. And Biden's probably just like, come on, man, it's cultural. They want to weaponize their robots. They can, man. It's just cultural, man.
Joe Biden, notorious dog weaponizer.
That's true. Maybe. Maybe Major Biden is a Chinese spy.
Major Biden is a Chinese operative within the White House, one by one, crippling the hands of White House employees.
That's how China infiltrates America. Robot dog.
It's all part of the plan, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else on that?
Nope, that's it. Let's keep going.
Epstein didn't kill himself.
This is from Newsweek.com. Headline: Ghislaine Maxwell prosecution reveals nearly 3 million pages of evidence. I need like the reverb.
Yeah, 3 million pages of evidence.
3 million pages, which is there's a lot. There's a lot of pages. And
that's the most amount of pages.
We were talking about how, I think a couple episodes ago, when she was, convicted of.
Wait, you didn't finish the headline.
Yeah, I did.
You did?
Yeah, 3 million pages of evidence.
Oh, yeah. But you didn't say. Okay. All right. Okay, keep going.
Okay. All right. What was I saying? Oh, we were a couple episodes ago. We were talking about how Ghislaine Maxwell was indicted for actual child sex trafficking, and we were like, "Hey, at least there's some progress there. There's something, an official thing going down." But yeah, 3 million pages is quite a bit. Let's see what they say here. Ghislaine Maxwell's prosecutors have disclosed 2.7 million pages of evidence to her lawyers in her Jeffrey Epstein trafficking case, a court filing has revealed.
My gosh. Can you imagine being her defense lawyers and having 3 million pages of evidence show up? And this is a beautiful thing about the court system in America, is they don't get to just deliver these digitally. In fact, it's kind of a smack in the face that prosecutors love to do, where they will hand deliver these in physical papers in those bank boxes, cardboard boxes, because if they hand them over digitally, then it makes it easier for the defense to search for evidence. And so you can imagine being Ghislaine Maxwell's defense lawyers and just a semi-truck of boxes of paper show up. It's like, okay, here you go. Find your defense in this somewhere.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's some kind of visual of 1 million pages on the internet. I'm sure there is. I just have to find it. But yeah, just to get an idea.
More pages than one human brain can really imagine at once.
Yeah, so let me continue here. The British socialite is awaiting trial in July on allegations she groomed underage girls for the New York financier to abuse. Maxwell, a friend of Prince Andrew, denied the original allegations and is expected to enter a plea to a new indictment containing claims from a fourth victim later this month. Her lawyers have repeatedly complained about her not having enough time to work on her case while in jail at the Metropolitan Detention Center. Blah, blah, blah. I don't think there's much info.
Read it with some conviction here. You're boring me with your read.
Yeah, I don't really think there's more to it. I mean, I think the headline pretty much...
Yeah, well, we're... Okay.
What else do you want?
Her lawyers have repeatedly complained about her not having enough time to work on her case while in jail at the Metropolitan Detention Center, Brooklyn. Yes, not enough time to make it through 3 million pages of evidence.
Yeah, well, let me just read a couple more sentences here. Maxwell's lawyer complained in November that she was not being given enough time to prepare her case while in prison as they launched a bid to get her bail. A letter to the court seen by Newsweek read, quote, "However, given the voluminous discovery in this case, the most recent production alone being 1.2 million documents, The time accorded Miss Maxwell remains inadequate for her to review and prepare the defense of her life.
Yeah, no kidding.
Doesn't that make you think maybe this is like all kind of planned? It's like, oh, let's just give him the whole thing. Give him the whole thing so that they just... It's the same thing as like filibustering.
Yeah.
Just kind of.
Yeah, it's a strategy. Yeah, you overload them with evidence because that's kind of the part of discovery is prosecutors gather all their evidence. They're legally required to share it with the defense, so there's no like surprise evidence. And yeah, you overload them like this, and again, we know that there's a lot of backroom dealings and things like that. And especially with the Epstein thing, which involves, heads of state and intelligence agencies and celebrities. And that's why he mysteriously got suicided because there's just too much. There's too much control infrastructure to crumble here. To have it not absolutely guarantee, well, in Epstein's case, built into his whole system was life insurance for if he got caught. So that's why he needed to be suicided. There would be no, given his vocation and the system of blackmail he had built up, the only option for him was suicidation. But with Ghislaine, it's a little bit of a similar situation where she has the same, if not more, life insurance, as they call it in the biz, to protect her. And I think that when it comes to 3 million pages of evidence, this shows that they have no intention of letting her get off on anything or even spend a day outside of jail. Not just because of punishment reasons, but because, she has the ability to cause a lot of trouble for people who are in power. Just for the bare minimum, we're talking about the Clintons and the royal family of England and et cetera, et cetera. So
apparently 3 million pages is nothing. You got John Holler in the chat. Remember John? He's a lawyer. Or was a lawyer. I don't know if he's still practicing. But he mentioned, Gons, I had a case with 38 million pages of docs.
Yes, that is also a big number.
It's like a lot bigger. Like 12 times bigger or something. So yeah, that I guess it's somewhat common in these types of cases. Maybe not, but
well, I don't know. I don't know if it's common, but I believe that I don't think it's a record-breaking amount of evidence, but surely it is a lot of evidence. And part of it is just to guarantee that she has no way out. And again, I think I can speak for both of us that we are surprised that she has not been suicided as of now. But who knows if she might lose a little bit of hope trying to go through 3 million pages of evidence.
I'm just thinking about, I can never be a lawyer. Can you imagine sitting down, page
it's
1?
Very tedious.
Page 1. And then like 5 hours later, you're all page 19. Oh, off with myself. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. And, one thing we haven't reported on, and I guess we won't for maybe when things come up, but it's the George Floyd trial. Have you been keeping track of that at all?
I've been following the headlines that come through. I was reading every article that was coming out, but there were so many of them, and they were so not like a whole lot being reported.
Yeah, it's pretty biased.
Like 3, biased, of course, but also it's like a whole article about how one witness said that the chokehold was very mean.
A lot of appeals to emotion, at least last week.
Oh, sure. Yes. Well, they're not going to let this guy go. Let me say the media is not going to give this guy a break at all. There have been some very interesting rumblings about like technicalities that might, let him, I don't know, maybe just not have maximum penalties of what are they shooting for? What is it? First degree murder? What's the one where you meant to kill him on purpose? I forget. But yeah, this is an opportunity, again, going back to the tinderbox concept, where, hey, if Chauvin does get off on, even if he gets a light sentence, even anything short of life in prison, I think is going to spark some violence.
Yeah. That's really the thing. It doesn't matter what the outcome is. If it's not like death penalty or life sentence, they're gonna light the streets on fire again. But we'll keep track of it. We'll do a more of an official report, maybe a little bit further down the line
when there's something more interesting to talk about. All right, let's talk about
you racist.
Talk about the WACCINE. Okay, Gons, the time has come. The Los Angeles Times is reporting double mutant coronavirus variant is found in California. Double mutant, not just single mutant. Yeah, double mutant ninja virus. San Francisco, a possibly worrisome variant of the coronavirus first identified in India, so new that it has no official name. Okay, how long does it take? They name these things like B141. Somebody
takes
can
like
just
10 seconds to name it. They're so on top of it.
What do you want me to name it? I'll name it for you. It's double mutant ninja virus. So new that it has no name, has been found in California by scientists at Stanford University. Nicknamed the double mutant variant by the BBC and others, of course, because the media actually names these things. The variant is sparking concern among some scientists because it contains not just one, but two worrisome mutations in its genetic composition that have been identified among other variants of concern being tracked by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Quote, "We don't know how those two mutations behave when they're paired together." Dr. Benjamin Pinsky, director of the Clinical Virology Laboratory at Stanford, said in an interview Monday. The existence of the newly discovered variant was first disclosed by India's government on March 24th, Pinsky said, after a surge of coronavirus cases was detected in the nation's second most populous state, Maharashtra, whose largest city is Mumbai. The new variant is responsible for roughly 15% to 20% of the new coronavirus cases there. Now, in the crazy, wacky conspiracy, baseless conspiracy theory that, the coronavirus may have come from a laboratory in Wuhan, China, of course, these wacky people are targeting an innocent level 4 lab that specifically studies bat coronaviruses and gain of function for the Chinese government, and was not very compliant with a WHO investigation, but still crazy that it could possibly have come from there. But if indeed that is true, China and India are constantly agitated with each other. We've covered how they're zapping each other with microwave weapons at the border. They're constantly getting in gunfights at their border. Not a very friendly relationship. So if the baseless conspiracy theory about coronavirus coming from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, that has been funded by EcoHealth Alliance with ties to a current member of the investigation team of the HWO. Anyways, I don't need to go into that. It's crazy and baseless. But if that was the case, it would not surprise me that India would be the target of this new double mutant ninja virus. Oh, I just noticed. I can't call it a ninja virus. That's racist.
Yeah, well, we're already canceled. Half canceled, So just go for it.
Okay. A day later, on March 25th, the Stanford lab identified the same variant in a coronavirus sample taken from a patient in the San Francisco Bay Area. Quote, on the 25th, we actually got our sequence back and found that, wow, this is actually the same variant that they were talking about, Pinsky said. Quote, so this rapid spread across the globe is pretty impressive and also a bit concerning. Why this new variant may be worrisome? The Stanford lab identified identified one confirmed case of the new variant and 7 presumptive cases among samples from patients in the Bay Area, Pinsky said. None of the other variants being monitored by federal officials have the same combination of these 2 mutations, known as L452R and E484Q. Q. The latter of which is closely related to a more well-known mutation known as E484K. Yes, that well-known mutation. The L452R mutation became well-known in California as one of the California variant, racist, resulting in a strain that is believed to make the virus more infectious and might cause reduced immunity in people who have been vaccinated.
Convenient.
Yes. The E484Q mutation is closely related to the E484K mutation, which has been found in variants first identified in South Africa, Brazil, and New York. The E484K mutation is also concerning because it might give the virus the ability to partly invade the immune system's protective response among inoculated people or those who have survived a conventional COVID-19 illness. Quote, so this is interesting. Just to sum that last kind of confusing paragraph up. The new mutation is like a combination of all the other variants that we've seen in South Africa, Brazil, New York. So it's like a mega mutation, I guess. And it seems to be completely useless when vaccinated against. Quote, what we don't know is how those 2 mutations will behave when they're put in the same virus, Pinsky said. There's a reasonable amount of information about those 2 mutations individually, but will it be worse if they're together? We really don't know how they're going to interact. Okay. So they got it from a patient. They found the virus from a person. So you can kind of see how they're going to interact, I guess. The Stanford lab routinely performs genetic analysis for coronavirus specimens among COVID-19 patients in the Bay Area. They screen for 3 worrisome mutations. And I'll spare you the alphabet of the names of the mutations. Thought to increase transmissibility of the coronavirus is found in the UK variant as well as the South African variant, et cetera, et cetera. The Stanford lab was able to detect the new variant's mutation, even though the lab is designed to detect only the closely related mutation. So it's kind of fortuitous that we were able to identify this. Okay. Variant highlights importance of, here we go. Yeah. So they just spent a few paragraphs telling us how, these variants basically make the vaccination useless. But let's check on how variant highlights importance of vaccination. The emergence of the new variant underscores how important it will be to quickly vaccinate as many people as possible. The best-known New York variant is believed to have emerged in Washington Heights neighborhood in Manhattan and then quickly spread through the city. Dr. Anthony Fauci, Daddy Fauci, to those who care, the nation's top infectious disease expert, said at a briefing last month.
Nation's top, meaning nation's most paid.
Right,
highest paid.
Yeah. Highest paid disease expert. Highest paid government employee makes more than the president, Dr. Fauci does.
Science is truth.
One way variants can emerge is through the infection of a single person who has compromised immune system, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, the director of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, said in March. A coronavirus infection in a person with a weak immune system, quote, could be the breeding ground of the emergence of variants for the simple reason that if you don't clear the virus rapidly, you're going to have immunological selection within the given individual, meaning the virus could evolve in that person to become more robust. That was probably how it all started with New York's variant, Fauci said on March 1st. The only way to curb the creation of the new variants is to slow the transmission of the virus. A potential nightmare scenario could result in the spread of variants like the kind that has struck Brazil. The city of Manaus was one of the hardest hit in the world with a conventional strain of the coronavirus, and it now appears that there's a lot of substantial reinfection with the new Brazilian variant. Dr. Stefano Bertozzi, professor of health policy and dean emeritus of UC Berkeley School of Public Health, said at a UC San Francisco forum last month. Wow. However, immunity produced by vaccines are believed to be better than immunity produced by surviving COVID-19.
Believed to be.
Believed
That's very
to
scientific.
Notice how there's no quotes there and no source. Seems like that would be an important place to have a source, cite a source or a quote. And while some variants are believed to result, again, that believed, it's so funny for a community that is so against belief. Belief is the enemy, science is your friend. There's a lot of belief involved in this immunity.
A lot of faith in the science community.
And while some variants are believed to result in the slight reduction of the effectiveness of some vaccines, some experts say that reduction equates to only mild to moderate illness. Vaccines that are now available and under development have essentially been 100% protective against death, even in places where the variants have circulated widely. Okay, we don't need to get into that. For instance, COVID-19 vaccines manufactured by Johnson & Johnson, Novavax, and AstraZeneca were studied in South Africa and, quote, all showed reduced efficacy compared to studies carried out in other parts of the world, where the South African variant wasn't present, Pinsky said. However, it's important to note that all vaccines are very effective at preventing severe disease and death. Basically, all vaccines are 100% effective at that so far. Vaccines can actually address these blah, blah, blah. It goes on and on and on. There's more. Interesting how they point out the three, ignored stepchildren of the vaccine industry, the J&J, Novavax, and AstraZeneca. No talk about Pfizer being ineffective or Moderna being ineffective.
Yeah, it's another one of those things. I don't think the LA Times truly believes people read this and actually analyze what they're saying.
It does get incredibly boring.
Well, it's not just boring, but it doesn't. It contradicts itself. When at the beginning it's trying to scare you, like, oh, it's not going. The vaccines don't work against the variants. And then it's got to make sure that you got to get your vaccine because we want to stop the spread of the thing. So that way, but wasn't the narrative that even if you get a vaccine, you got to wear your mask, got to social distance because you can still spread it. So the narrative is completely just all over the place now. I think it's just meant to confuse people now at this point.
Totally. Well, and especially because it's very unscientific to talk in absolutes. And this number 100% effective that's getting thrown around now
100% effective
is very spooky that they're just not caring at all and throwing out the 100% number, which is in a kind of a big no-no when it comes to
scientific inquiry. Just any kind of scientific inquiry, you're never supposed to 100% anything.
There is one thing I will read further on down. They do kind of take this circuitous route using all sorts of numbers and big words, and it gets very boring. But there is this one paragraph. In California, the two most dominant variants are the California and UK variants. The California Department of Public Health has recorded more than 9,000 cases of the California variant and 851 of the UK variant. There have been 35 cases of the Brazilian variant and 33 cases of the New York variant. Dun, 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 dun. I don't know. That just caught my attention.
Of course. Of course, the New Yorkers. That's where all the Masons hang out, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's interesting because the LA Times are peddling out this fear, the double mutant, get your vaccines. But also, at the same time, LA Times, California aims to fully reopen the economy June 15th.
Oh, what are they thinking?
And I like how the picture here, it's just a kid enjoying a funnel cake at Six Flags. It's just a really random thing.
Yeah, like, which is also weird because specifically Six Flags and theme parks in California open up, isn't it later this month?
Yeah.
So deceptive.
Yeah, California is aiming to fully reopen its economy June 15th, the clearest end date eyed for restrictions that have besieged businesses and upended daily life throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. The date isn't set in stone, and officials emphasize that getting to the point where California could widely reopen for the first time in more than a year will hinge on two factors: a sufficient vaccine supply to inoculate all those who are eligible, and stable and low numbers of people hospitalized with the disease. Something that can be very much manipulated, and we've seen manipulated in the last year here.
Yeah, hospitalizations is not necessarily an objective data point.
Indicator, yeah. June 15th also won't bring a full return to pre-pandemic life. Notably, California's mask mandate will remain in place for the foreseeable future. But officials have expressed confidence that the state, through continued improvement in its coronavirus metrics and the steady rollout of vaccines, is now positioned to being actively planning for what comes after COVID-19. Quote, with more than 20 million vaccines administered across the state, it is time to turn the page on our tier system and begin looking to fully reopen California's economy, Government Gavin Newsom said in a statement Tuesday. Quote, we can now begin planning for our lives post-pandemic. We will need to remain vigilant and continue the practice that got us here. Okay, wearing masks and getting vaccinated, but the light at the end of the tunnel has never been brighter. Except maybe it's a freight train, Gavin Newsom, and it's coming for you, buddy. Oh, is that a threat? Is that cyberbullying?
Don't bully him. Don't cyberbully Newsom.
I'm sorry. I like your hair, Newsom. Should all go as planned, June 15th will see the official end of California's current reopening roadmap, which sorts counties into one of four color-coded tiers based on three metrics: coronavirus case rates, adjusted based on the number of tests performed, and rate of positive test results, and a health equity metric intended to ensure that the positive test rates in poorer communities is not significantly higher than the county's overall figure. Quote, the entire state will move into this phase as a whole. This will not be county by county, Dr. Mark Ghaly, California's Health and Human Services Secretary, said in a briefing call with reporters. In a statement, officials said those sectors included in the state's reopening blueprint will be allowed to, quote, return to usual operations in compliance with Cal OSHA requirements and with common sense public health policies in place, such as required masking, testing, and with vaccinations encouraged. Large-scale indoor events, such as conventions, will be allowed to occur with testing or vaccination verification requirements. Kind of slipping in the vaccine passport thing without making it overtly, like a government thing, there's another story on that we'll get to. Ghaly emphasized that, quote, if we see any concerning rise in our hospitalizations, we will take the necessary precautions. But right now, we are hopeful in what we're seeing as we continue to build on the 20 million vaccines already administered. And that's really it, isn't it? They've basically, half the people in the state have gotten the jab. And so, they know that the fear-mongering and the solution to the problem, all the sheeple will just fall in line and get the jab. So I guess we can open things back up.
Yeah, it's so interesting because famously, I would say probably millennial liberals in California were the main demographic of this, but of course it's spread across the spectrum there. We're just furious when other states were opening up. And it was like this tidal wave of, you dumb idiots, you flyover states opening up. What are you thinking? You're going to kill us all. And I'm doing some quick searches, just general searches on Twitter and all over the place, looking for some angry liberals about California opening up. But, when it's their state, they seem to be pretty happy about it.
Well, they have good motivations.
Oh, they're the good guys. I see.
Yeah, there's good motivations because a successful statewide reopening in June poses a major political upside for the governor, who faces a likely recall election in the fall. Newsom's chances of surviving a recall could be higher if Californians have resumed some form of pre-COVID-19 life when they cast their ballots. Mass vaccinations and the return of in-person education are critical to that sense of normalcy.
And that's what it's all about, isn't it?
That's what it's all about. It's all politics.
I love that. I love that date too, June 15th. It's just far enough away that it's like not happening soon, but it's close enough to where you can kind of get excited about it. It's like it's the perfect length away, where they can, it leaves room for something to happen where they can reverse it and take it back. Like they said at the beginning of that article, it's not set in stone. A lot can happen between now and June.
Yeah. Newsom was the first governor in the nation to issue a stay-at-home order in the early days of the pandemic last year, an action widely cast as the right call to protect California's fragile healthcare system. The governor hasn't received the same praise for his handling of reopenings. Health experts have said Newsom lifted restrictions too quickly and didn't reinstate them fast enough when case numbers grew, adding to COVID-19 surges in the summer and winter. Health and Human Services Secretary Ghaly, one of the state's top health officials, has said he would have slowed the pace of change last summer if he can do it all again. Rescinding restrictions and launching a sweeping reopening create new risks for Newsom. If the virus surges again or unexpected problems arise, the whiplash of the governor's constantly changing rules could be more fresh in the minds of voters, who may blame him at the polls. Political experts say the more Californians think of the pandemic in the past tense, the more likely Newsom is to keep his seat.
It's Newsom science, baby! Ha!
Yeah. Well, we'll see how that goes.
Yep. I'm not going to finish the article. I think we get the point here. But yeah, California is set to open on June 15th, and a lot of it has to do with Newsom trying to play his cards right to stay in office because... Hey, if he can recover from being seen eating, dining out at the posh restaurant there with
French
some
Laundry.
Lobbyists, French Laundry. If he can recover from that and stay in office, the man deserves
Anybody
it.
can recover from anything.
The man deserves it, and Californians deserve it for being just... I'm going to offend all of us here. So I'm not going to say it.
Well, I'll say it. Californians get exactly what they deserve.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Sorry, Gons, but, that's just
well,
how...
there's only so much we can do. I mean, literally, there's 40,000 Californians, 40 million Californians, 20 million jabs out there. So literally, we're split in half.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of jabs, though. I'd be curious.
What was that? What was that?
A lot of jabs
yeah.
with a B, Gons.
Pronounce your words correctly or you will be canceled.
All right, what's next?
Just more pandemic special stuff.
Pandemic special.
The Rangers, Texas Rangers, taking the field, and the stadium is at full capacity.
Was George Bush there?
I don't know.
George W?
I don't know, but
remember his speech that he was given, his everybody take the jab speech? He said, I want to go to a Rangers game.
Oh, right. Yeah, maybe he was there. I don't know. Probably not.
That wasn't very long ago either. That was like a couple of weeks ago he said that.
Yeah. Well, this is how it sounded. Joey Gallo taking the field. Not great audio there. They need to put that puffy windscreen on the mic.
Yeah, no windscreens allowed. What is that supposed to communicate to me? Just a lot of people being there?
Yeah, it's just Texas opening up. Lots of people, whole crowd. What is it? 20,000 maybe?
I guess that
people.
Major League Baseball boycott is not turning out too well.
Yeah, and people were freaking out. Oh, Texas. What are they doing? Much like back in last summer, the Black Lives Matter protests in Los Angeles, when the same number of people were all piled into the streets of LA protesting Black Lives Matter.
Right, yeah.
I mean, probably even closer proximity to each other in that case. But, no problems there when we protesting for Black Lives Matter. But baseball game, super spreader event.
That's so 2020, guys.
I know. I'm trying to make sure people don't forget. And then real quick here, there was, I don't know if you saw this footage, a family was kicked off of Spirit Airlines because a 2-year-old wasn't wearing a mask. Do you want to see? I don't think there's any profanity in here. There could be, I guess. It's possible in videos like this.
I told you, non-compliance, you will have to get off.
So for just the listeners, you're going to want to set this up. So it's somebody is filming on a plane, and there is a young pregnant mother sitting in one seat. She's got a 2-year-old on her lap. The mother is wearing a mask. Looks like dad is in the window seat there, also wearing a mask. But the 2-year-old is eating a snack and not wearing a mask.
Yeah, and
they're being confronted by a very serious flight attendant.
Yep.
What
do we do?
I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. Just tell me what we did.
Non-compliance with the mask.
We're wearing a mask. Wearing a mask.
She's not wearing it.
The baby?
Wearing a mask.
A lot of babies are not wearing masks. Keep cutting it on.
Wearing a mask.
A lot of kids not wearing masks.
Who been sitting next to me? Was I wearing a mask?
He was wearing it the whole time.
Guys, was I wearing a mask all the time, everybody?
I'm sorry.
But the kids not. This baby's.
I'll make sure he wears it. Everything's gonna be fine.
I'm sorry.
I'll make sure that they're wearing it, okay?
Pulling it off.
Special needs child and a 2-year-old.
I understand.
Right.
I'm not my choice. It's not my choice.
Whose choice? Let's bring him
Why
here.
would you make
It's not my choice.
waste time to do this?
I'm sorry, but she has to get up and you have to take her stuff and you have to.
I'm not. Excuse me. I'm not going to leave until I understand what I did wrong.
I have a
So if you want to call your manager, you can call your manager.
Not comply with the mask policy.
You said it's not you. So who is this? You told me. We're done talking, right?
We're done talking,
Okay.
but pilot wants you off, you have to get off.
Who wants me off?
Pilot wants you off.
Who?
She's a baby.
Pilot wants you off.
I paid for my
I'm sorry.
flight.
You have to get off.
Yeah, okay. I think we get the point here.
Well, there's a part towards the end where she kind of invokes I think it's either the captain or because she wasn't answering who wants them off, and then she says, "I want you off," and then later she says the captain says he wants you off. It's kind of like
I don't know, man. This is like that. This is prison experiment stuff.
Yeah.
You've got those playing the role of the prisoner. You got those playing the role of the prison guard. And as we've seen through 2020, flight attendants have sort of had this weird empowerment and this weird sort of, I don't know, they've turned into the prison guards where they're kicking people off for all sorts of things. Mask. Now, some of it's deserved. Some of these, I've seen some videos where they definitely
they freak out a little bit. But there's nobody in this video. Usually when the ones I've seen in the past, the people around are like, yeah, get out of here. This one, everyone's trying to come to the defense.
I was gonna say, yeah, this is a very unique video in that everybody else is like, hey, it's a baby. I will take responsibility. I'll make sure they wear the mask, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
So, yeah, I liked this video in that people were actually coming to the baby's defense, which is a glimmer of light in the panopticon mind control that we've seen for the past year. And you can kind of tell that the flight attendant was not used to that. I think this flight attendant probably has kicked some more people off, or at least, been around while more people get kicked off. And usually it's sort of an angry, mean person who starts cursing, and the cops come and drag him off and everybody cheers. This is a baby eating snacks. And the tweet coming from Breaking 911, it says the child was a special needs child. So I don't know exactly what that means, but technically, I believe special needs children especially, are they don't necessarily have to wear the mask. I think there's some in the mask mandates. There's some people who have different things going on, developmental things that makes it almost impossible for them to wear the mask, and they don't understand. So how did this end? Did they actually get kicked off or what?
I think they took everybody off the plane, and then they brought everybody back on the plane, and then and there was this flight attendant did not return, and I think Spirit Airlines came out and says, "Oh no, it wasn't that we disciplined her. It was just what is it called? A staff change kind of thing, But it's like, I don't know. Okay,
interesting. So the flight attendant got busted.
I don't know for sure. Maybe, but. Whatever. Either way, it's not a good look on Spirit Airlines, and maybe because of the people reacting and the situation specifically that special needs, 2-year-old, all the things that don't support her, the flight attendant, from kicking him off. Maybe they needed to do a little damage control because now everyone's like, "Don't fly Spirit Airlines. They're a bunch of Nazis or whatever." Well,
long story short, it gives me a little bit of hope that people came to the defense of this person, that pushed back against the flight attendant. The prison experiment mindset where anybody with a name badge suddenly becomes a police officer it needs to stop. And, I'm looking through the tweets here. People are on both sides of this. And unfortunately, some people I don't think they understand exactly what's going on. I think a lot of people don't even watch the video. They're like, no mask, activate mind control, no maskers, that racist baby, that racist domestic terrorist baby who stormed the Capitol on January 6th must be punished.
Baby storming the Capitol. That's the next art assignment.
Yeah. All right, what's next? A lot of LA Times stories today.
Before we do that, the Spirit Airlines competitor Delta cancels 100 flights due to staff shortages, maybe because they're all getting kicked off for yelling at people. Websites at 3 Delta hubs showed 33 canceled flights.
33 is the number of completion of the Great War.
So just another flight, airplane story with the situation here. But LA Times, lots of LA Times stuff, and this one is titled, and the headline. There's no headline here. What's the headline? COVID-19 vaccine safety, side effects, risks, reactions. And what you're looking at here is a bunch of squares. You know how they do the visual sometimes? And they have a bunch of rows and aisles of squares. And it says each square represents 15,000 vaccine doses. And then it says more than 150 million shots have been administered in the U.S. so far. And then it has a little arrow to half of a square. And it says 0.005% may have resulted in a serious side effect, which is trying to say, hey, look, visualize how little people had serious side effects, which means you're probably safe. Go get the jab.
Yeah.
It's not even worth reading, really. It's just more of a visual thing. But it's almost like they're justifying, because they're, again, we've talked about this multiple times, but with this type of thing, especially a new technology that they're rolling out there, there's not enough evidence, there's not sufficient evidence to know if there's long-term effects. So the fact that they're even putting out these visuals like this, imagine a similar visual of the number of people who have actually died from coronavirus last year.
Yeah. What is it? 0.05%?
Something like that for a while. I think it went over 1, but that's only after they started to really...
Well, that's also when they were murdering people on ventilators.
That's what I'm saying. After the manipulation of the data, then it might have looked a little different. But yeah, I just think they're putting stuff out there to make people who got the jab already feel good about it. Like, oh, okay, we're
sure,
good. We're good. We're going to be fine. But yeah, I don't know. It's just ridiculous. A lot of LA Times involved in that too. So
yeah, anyways. Yeah. Okay. Well, I got something here from CBS News.
Mm-hmm.
The CIA broadcasting system. Headline: White House leaves vaccine passports to private sector. Dun, dun, dun. As more and more countries like Japan, China, and Denmark plan to introduce vaccine passports for their citizens, Americans are beginning to wonder if they too will have to show some sort of proof of vaccination or similar ID to travel, attend events, work, or generally participate in society. CBS, where have you been? They're so late to this conversation, but there aren't many answers.
This article is March 30th. It is about a week old.
It was a week ago, yeah. There aren't, but I mean, come on.
Yeah, of course.
They're behind. There aren't many answers to this in the U.S., although the U.S. has vaccinated more people than any nation in the world, but the Biden administration is making one thing clear. The federal government won't be the one issuing a vaccine credential or storing citizens' vaccination information in a database. Now, there's an we got to look at this from the right point of view. So, this sentence here, the federal government won't be the one issuing a vaccine credential or storing citizens' vaccination information on a database. So what they're trying to do here, is kind of assuage the fears that like, oh, the government will give you a passport and the government will keep your data and kind of trying to lean or relieve fears of conservatives in that way. But let's go on. Quote, this is going to hit all parts of society, and so naturally the government is involved. Andy Slavitt, acting director for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, said during a White House COVID-19 briefing on Monday, quote, but unlike other parts of the world, the government here is not viewing its role as the place to create a passport, nor a place to hold the data of citizens, of citizens.
He almost said slaves, so he had to of citizens.
We view this as something that the private sector is doing and will do. What's important to us, and we're leading an interagency process right now to go through these details, are that some important criteria be met with these credentials, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so he's saying the private sector is going to be dealing with the passports. Yeah. Should private entities develop a vaccine ID system, it will be crucial to ensure that access to credentials is equitable and accessible, no matter what technology limitations a person faces at home, said Slavitt and White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, adding that it should also be private and secure. Psaki said the Biden administration is mostly focused on creating guidelines that can be used as a basis for private sector endeavors. Quote, as we expect, as Andy Slavitt, I think, alluded to, that a determination or development of a vaccine passport, or whatever you want to call it, okay, we're going to call it that because that's what everybody calls it, because that's what it is, will be driven by the private sector, Psaki said. Quote, ours will be more focused on guidelines that can be used as a basis. There are a couple key principles that we're working from. One, that there will be no centralized universal federal vaccinations database and no federal mandate requiring everyone to obtain a single vaccination credential. Second, we want to encourage an open marketplace with a variety of private sector companies and nonprofit coalitions developing solutions. And third, we want to drive the market toward meeting public interest goals. Psaki offered no timeline for when the administration might issue such guidelines. But President Biden in January did sign an executive order directing federal agencies to see how feasible it would be to connect COVID-19 vaccines to vaccine cards cards. Quote, consistent with applicable law, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of HHS, and the Secretary of Homeland Security, including through the administrator of the TSA, in coordination with any relevant international organizations, shall assess the feasibility of linking COVID-19 vaccination to international certificates of vaccination or prophylaxis, ICVP, and producing electronic versions of ICVPs. The executive order reads in the Federal Register. Mr. Biden announced on Monday, Mr. Biden, not President Biden. Oh,
yeah, they got to save that for President Kamala.
They're evergreening their material here. Mr. Biden announced on Monday that 90% of American adults will be eligible for a vaccine by April 19th, and that 90% of Americans will live within 5 miles of a vaccination site by that same date. Still, he and the Centers for Disease Control Director Rochelle Walensky warned Americans not to grow complacent. Quote, we're in the life and death race for the blah, blah, blah. So then they just go into saying, everybody get your vaccine. So very interesting thing we are experiencing here. And it ties in with the governmentization of big tech, where Biden, the trying to be everybody's president, even conservatives, Republicans love him, according to him. Republicans love me and what I do. Taking his GQ cover photo on the back of a red pickup truck with some Budweisers, playing a guitar with a horse bit as a guitar strap. A good old American president like Mr. Biden. And so, of course, a centralized federal government database of vaccinations and vaccination passports is a complete no-go with conservatives. And I don't mean politically conservative. I mean ideologically conservative. This includes a lot of libertarians. It even includes a lot of those more centrist Democrats, I'd say.
Yeah. The trad Dems.
Yes, the Silicon Valley Democrats, or the
they love this. They're like, oh yay,
yeah. There you go. You're right. That was a bad example, and that's because the privatization of vaccine passports is also a horrible idea.
It's
like, have we learned nothing from the abuses by Facebook and Google and big tech? What in the world would make them think that we would prefer to get our vaccination passport from Facebook than the government? I mean, I don't want to get it from the government either, but getting it from Facebook is also a bad idea, where they have less limitations on what they can do with the information, where they're Google's in bed with the CCP, helping them tie down the internet in their country. These TikTok and all these social media, big tech companies, it might sound good on its face. And this is another one of those things. You got to watch out for these two-faced programs. Just because the government isn't in charge of the vaccine passport does not mean that it's any better that the private sector does. And I think only because I've seen some reactions from some people who maybe just haven't taken the time to think about it. They're like, oh yeah, see, the federal government isn't going to be in charge of the passports. This is going to be great. No. This is the worst possible scenario, to put big tech in charge of your passport, because they are not concerned with your freedoms. They're not legally obligated in any way to protect your freedoms, at least any more than the government is. In fact, categorically less so.
Yeah, and it's very low-level type of stuff to say this. It's almost as if it's being used so that certain radical, progressive, leftist types can be like, see, all you conspiracy theorists, QAnon people out there, it's not the government. The government's not trying to take over everything. The private sector.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yep. No, I was going to say it's a blatant handing over to the technocrats.
It is.
I mean, they don't use the word, but the concept is objectively the Democrats, meaning people running this democracy, handing over control to technocrats, and that's the beast system, baby.
And there's more nuance to this discussion because there's private federal corporations.
Yeah.
The Federal Reserve is technically a private, well, it's a public-private structure, but it's privately, it's somewhat privately owned, and it operates in tandem with the federal government, and with, they say it's within the framework of the federal government, but it basically acts as a private corporation. And so if you have the Federal Reserve Bank that runs our country, if they're considered a private sector and they want to be the people to manage the passports along with big tech, obviously, then we're really talking about a mark of the beast type of system. Not saying that it is the mark of the beast, but very much in line with it because they can control your finances.
Well, you don't even necessarily need the banks to be involved because big tech wants to be your bank anyways. You got PayPal, Venmo, it's these middlemen, big tech companies.
Yeah. Right. So, this is very deceptive in what they're trying to push out there. There is some, I guess, good news. I don't know if it's good news or not. This is Washington Post. University of Oxford pauses trial of AstraZeneca vaccine in children. Sounds good, right? Yay.
Yeah.
Researchers at Oxford University paused the trial of the coronavirus vaccine they are developing with AstraZeneca in children as young as 6 years old, pending a safety review by regulators in the UK. Regulators in Britain and other countries using the vaccine have been investigating rare cases of blood clots or brain blood clots and very low levels of platelets in people who have been vaccinated to discern whether there is a connection. Britain had continued to use the vaccines in all age groups, but other countries have restricted its use in younger people, and some have suspected the use of the vaccine while safety reviews continue. The trial was not paused. This is the key point here. The trial was not paused because of any safety concerns in the trial, but to allow the review to finish. So they're saying, don't worry about it. It's not a safety concern. That's not why we're stopping. We're just allowing the review of everything to finish before we continue to stab children. Which is basically what they're saying. It's really interesting because it kind of sounds like good news, But in reality, it's kind of like, oh, all right, okay, not really.
But what is this review? Why did they even pause the review? This is weird, man. This blood clot thing with AstraZeneca, it's gone back and forth like 2 or 3 times now.
Yeah. It says your quote, participant safety in any clinical trial is our top priority. And no safety concerns have been reported with this trial. June Rain, chief executive at the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, said in a statement. The MHRA found in an analysis of data from 18.1 million doses administered that 7 people died of rare blood clots after vaccination, although it was not established whether the vaccinations caused the clots.
Yeah, of course. It just caused like a dozen countries to ban the
it didn't cause the clots. It just they just died. Yeah. There were 22 reports of the blood-brain clots called cerebral venous sinus thrombosis, and 8 reports of other clotting events with low platelets. The agency suggested that the benefits of the vaccines outweigh the risks. More people, it's safer. I mean, only 8 people have died. 22 people got this issue. I mean, the likelihood that you'll get it is, everything's risky.
Yeah, I think it goes back to it's a hit job by Pfizer and Moderna.
I do too. I think to make it seem like, oh, what's wrong? Why are they, why would they stop trials? Maybe there's something there, but in reality, it's really not. that much of an issue. There you go. Right. And then I have one story here. I included it today because there's some interesting... There's some angles that are interesting here. Hold on, let me... there's a paywall, so let me get through the paywall here. It's archive.today. You can
beep, beep,
throw
bloop,
in links.
Boop, boop, hacking the mainframe.
Yeah.
Doop, doop, beep, 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 boop.
It's New York Times. 2 seriously injured in shooting near Fort Detrick, Maryland. The gunman, identified as a U.S. Navy hospital corpsman. That's what I thought too, but I've never actually said that word out loud. Corpsman.
I mean, it's about every other episode.
I know, but it's weird that it's I don't know. When do you get to say corpse and when do you say core? Like, what's the English thing there? Come on, I'm just a fob. Tell me.
I don't know. Let's always choose one: corpse or core.
Okay.
The piles of cores were stacked up outside of the New York coronavirus hospital.
All right. So the U.S. Navy hospital corpsman was shot and killed after driving onto the Army base in Frederick, Maryland, the authorities said. I'm going to try to flash through this article here pretty quickly.
Flash.
2 Navy sailors were shot and seriously injured near Fort Detrick, a military base in Maryland, on Tuesday morning, and the person who shot them, a Navy hospital corpsman, was killed after he drove onto the base and flashed a weapon, the authorities said. The police responded around 8:20 a.m. to reports of gunfire at the Riverside Tech Park, a business park about 5 miles from the base. Jason Lando, the police chief in Frederick, Maryland, said at a news conference on Tuesday morning. Chief Lando said the gunman shot 2 men there who were flown by helicopter to a shock trauma center in Baltimore. One was in critical condition and the other was released Tuesday afternoon, according to the Navy. The men, whose names were not released, were Navy sailors assigned to Fort Detrick. Brig General Michael Talley of Fort Detrick said at a news conference on Tuesday afternoon. The U.S. Navy confirmed that the gunman was a Navy hospital corpsman, the equivalent of a combat medic. The police identified him as Fantahan Germa Waldesenbent, 38.
What?
That's the name of the person.
Say it again.
Fantahan Germa Waldesenbent, 38. And
that's not a real person.
You think they made that up? It's a robot.
That's an android name if I've ever heard of one.
And said he lived off base in Frederick. His rank was given as E4, or Petty Officer 3rd Class. General Talley and Mr. Waldesenbent was assigned to Fort Detrick. After shooting the 2 sailors at the industrial park with a rifle, the authorities said the gunman drove to Fort Detrick, the base, which is about 50 miles northwest of Washington and 20 miles south of Camp David, which is home to the military's leading biodefense center.
Oh, good.
Yeah, let me keep going here.
Perfect.
After being stopped by guards at the gate to the base just off Opossum Town Pike, the gunman, quote, pulled off ahead before he could be searched, General Talley said. Mr. Waldesenbent made it about a half mile inside the base and was stopped in a parking lot where he brandished a weapon, the general said. Quote, our police department was able to neutralize the subject, General Talley said. The gunman was pronounced dead at the scene, according to the Fort Detrick police. There were no other injuries at the base, General Talley said. Quote, we are still investigating the exact circumstances of the subject, he said. Mr. Waldesenbent enlisted in 2012. He was posted at the Camp Lejeune, the Marine Corps base in North Carolina, and Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio, among other bases, before he was assigned to Fort Detrick in August 2019, according to a service record released by the Navy. Navy. His awards included the Good Conduct Medal, the National Defense Service Medal, and the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal. Chief Lando said that the service were still trying to learn about any relationships tying him to the victims and why he targeted the business park. He described the Riverside Tech Park as a, quote, row of businesses where the gunman opened fire. At least one shooting took place near Nikolak paving stones, said Jeremy Mutzkler, the director of marketing for the company. The shooting took place in an adjacent lot, he said. After the shooting, one of the victims entered Nikolak paving stones where employees tried to help him. The man had been shot in the chest and neck and was bleeding profusely, according to Mr. Mutzler. Employees took him to a restroom and then called the authorities, Mr. Mutzler said. Michael O'Connor, the mayor of Frederick, said in an interview with WJLA that there was no reason to believe the shootings were a, quote, random act. Quote, what I've heard is that
that's weird.
Yeah.
Quote,
that's
a weird thing to say. Usually they say, like, oh, there's no reason to think that this was anything other than a lone wolf. Just a lone wolf, folks.
Wolf,
nothing to see here.
No motives established.
They have no reason to believe that it was a lone wolf random act.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
Quote, what I've heard is that it's likely that the individuals are at least aware of one another, Mr. O'Connor said. Quote, what caused this to turn into an incident like this? It's difficult because they haven't been able to talk to the victims yet. The police and military officials said that the initial shooting took place at the warehouse rented by the Naval Medical Research Center, Biological Defense Research Directorate, to store research supplies and equipment. The Navy said it was sending a psychiatric intervention team to provide mental health support to the Fort Detrick community. The shootings on Tuesday occurred 2 weeks after a gunman, the Boulder, Colorado thing and the Atlanta shooter. Quote, it's terrible, Chief Lando said of the shootings in Frederick. It's very tragic. It's happening too frequently. Every time we turn on the TV, we're seeing something like this happen, and now it's happening in our backyard. General Talley said, quote, what's become all too often having these incidents, it's important to realize that we were as prepared as we could be for something like this. Fort Detrick is the largest employer in Frederick County, according to the Frederick County Workforce Service. It's home to the U.S. Army Medical Research Institute in Infectious Diseases. Kind of interesting. And then here's some of the stuff they buried at the bottom of this article that I found very fascinating. In 2019, the government shut down a military germ lab at the institute after the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention issued a cease and desist order to halt research into toxins such as organisms that cause Ebola, smallpox, anthrax, and plague. The CDC issued the order because the institute did not have, quote, sufficient systems in place to decontaminate wastewater from its highest security labs. And then in 2009, research at the institute in Fort Detrick was suspended because it was storing pathogens not listed in its database. They got some bad history. The Army
is a super sketchy zone.
Sketch. The Army Institute also employed Bruce E. Ivins, a microbiologist who was a leading suspect, but who was never charged in the anthrax mailings in 2001 that killed 5 people. Dr. Ivins died in 2008, apparently by suicide. So, yeah, there's a shooting. Normally, we don't even hear about shootings like this, or if we do, it's in the context of like, oh, another shooting in the, blah, blah, blah. But I just thought it was weird. There's not like a big national push about this event because I think it puts too much light on the actual location.
Yeah, it's too close to the chemical lab or whatever it is.
Yeah, and so I'm wondering, I'm very curious what kind of motives were this to me sounds like the type of New York Times news story that would be thrown out there in like some action movie or some some sci-fi movie where stuff
James
goes
Bond.
down and then they have to publish a story on it, so they throw it out there and then they're mad in the background because the little bit of attention was drawn to the lab or whatever. But
right,
I don't know, man. I just the whole thing.
So what do you think this?
I just
trying to bring down the system. You think
something
it's some
like that.
MKultra gone haywire,
or something like that, where this guy was trying to, because look, based on his previous work. What are all the medals there? I can't find it here. He won a bunch of stuff, right?
Decorated guy.
He's a decorated guy. So if he's going to do something like this,
I mean, they said right in the article that they have no reason to believe that this was a random act. Well, what do you think it was?
Right. They don't say that part. Oh, you're transparent, by the way.
Not.
But it's okay. That's just common now.
It happens.
Yeah, he has the Good Conduct Medal, National Defense Service Medal, and Global War on Terrorism Service Medal. So if he acted in this way, it had to have been trying to stop something.
It's like a Jason Bourne thing.
Yeah.
It's always a very highly decorated guy that, learns the truth and tries to change it, but then, gets busted or something. I'm now realizing in like the Bourne movies or James Bond movies, they never do show you the newspaper headline trying to explain some James Bond shootout or Jason Bourne, event.
Yeah.
This might be what we're looking at.
Well, I mean, if they do, it's always like, it's always in the context of like, well, just make sure they say that it's a blah, blah, blah. Like they'll make sure that the truth doesn't really get revealed in the story. They'll just have some story to make sure that it's reported, quote unquote, but the realities aren't really given, Yeah. So I just thought it was very interesting. It reminded me of that, like a lot of that stuff where it's just a misdirection. They report the event, but the motives and the reasons and all that kind of stuff, very obscure and nebulous for anybody that's really trying to dig into what happened here. So,
okay.
Yeah, wanted to include that because it might have something to do with the double mutant Ninja Turtle strain. And all the different things going on there, maybe they're manufacturing some of that or something. I don't know, but
okay, all right. Well, we'll keep an eye on it, see what else comes out. Should we talk about some politics?
Let's do it.
It's Latin for many.
Tick.
Now suck your blood.
Politics.
Your blood.
That's right. The many bloodsuckers, folks. Let's see what's going on. I got a story here from RT.com, our favorite Russian disinformation website. But the headline reads, Putin poised to set out vision for future in dramatic speech in what allies say will be, quote, world's most important political event.
They got some real good PR people over there in Russia.
Yes, Putin make a big speech, most important political speech. Must share with your American friends. Russian President Vladimir Putin is reportedly preparing to give, I love this, he's getting ready to give a speech. This is a news story about Putin preparing for a speech. Russian President Vladimir Putin is reportedly preparing to give a major address in which he will fire the starting pistol on a new era and set out a different vision for the future of his country as the COVID-19 pandemic wanes. Wow, you've got this is his version of the new age, Trump's new age.
Just keep reading.
The chairwoman of the Russian Senate, Valentina Matvienko, told reporters on Tuesday that the speech would set out answers to a number of challenges facing the world. Quote, this will be a message for a new age, she said. A new age. But at the time, as always, current issues will be addressed. Focuses will be defined and direct instructions will be given. Matvienko added that in the current difficult environment facing the world, which comes with many obstacles for countries, including Russia, the address would become, quote, the most important political and public event. Putin is due to speak to the national parliament, encompassing both the Senate and its lower house, the State Duma, on April 21st. Ooh, so close. Kremlin spokeswoman Dmitry Peskov revealed on Monday that the annual message would be delivered in person amid a relaxing of social distancing rules governing workplaces across the country. Quote, the rest of the details are being worked out. At a meeting of the World Economic Forum in January, Putin warned that the coronavirus pandemic was driving countries to borrow beyond their means and driving up inequality. Increasing the debt burden, he said, was an outdated way of stimulating growth. Quote, if 20 or 30 years ago the problem could be solved by means of stimulating macroeconomic policy, today these mechanisms have reached their limits, the president said. Over the past, another quote, over the past 30 years, real incomes of people living in most of the developed countries have stagnated while the cost of education and health services has increased. Millions of people, even in rich countries, no longer see the prospect of boosting their incomes, Putin added. Russia has also entered an election year with a poll scheduled for on or before September 19th to elect members of the State Duma, while the governing United Russia Party took over 54% of the vote in 2016, guaranteeing it a majority of more than 100 seats. This ballot will take place amid a global economic turndown and a pandemic that has seen seismic political shifts take place elsewhere in the world. But it sounds like he's got his own little great reset planned.
Our own reset.
We do not need the world economic reset. I have better reset, bigger, stronger, more robust. Yeah. Well, this will be interesting to see what he says. It's we might need to get some Russian producers to give us some boots on the ground. I'm not really sure what the sort of public sentiment of the economic situation is over there. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Stakeholder capitalism.
The part that I think is interesting is that the Russian chairwoman there, she says it will be a message for the new age, but at the same time address all these current issues, blah, blah, blah. So the part about the new age is really interesting. And I have this story here from CNN. Satellite images show huge Russian military buildup in the Arctic.
Oh.
Yeah. It's happening, Basil. I think they're gonna reveal Atlantis in the Antarctic, or the ancient civilization.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Or they've started a new penguin colony or something up there.
Or they're trying to unfreeze all the Nazi technology that was frozen up there from World War II. Let me just read a couple paragraphs here. Russia is amassing unprecedented military might in the Arctic and testing its newest weapons in a region freshly ice-free due to the climate emergency. In a bid to secure its northern coast and open up key shipping routes from Asia to Europe. Weapons expert and Western officials have expressed particular concern about one Russian super weapon, the Poseidon 2M39 torpedo.
Whoa, super weapon.
Development, it's like Trump's super
duper missile.
Super duper missile, yeah. Development of the torpedo is moving fast, with Russian President Vladimir Putin requesting an update on a key stage of the tests in February from his defense minister, Sergei Shoigu. That sounds like such a villain, Sergei Shoigu. With further tests planned this year, according to multiple reports in state media. The unmanned stealth torpedo is powered by a nuclear reactor and intended by Russian designers to sneak past coastal defenses like those of the U.S. on the sea floor. The device is intended to deliver a warhead of multiple megatons, according to Russian officials, causing radioactive waves that would render swaths of the target coastline uninhabitable for decades. In November, Christopher A. Ford, then Assistant Secretary of State for International Security and Non-Proliferation, said the Poseidon is designed to, quote, inundate U.S. coastal cities with radioactive tsunamis.
It's designed specifically to do that to the U.S.?
That's what this guy is saying.
Oh, jeez. That is very interesting, though. Yeah, so the idea is that you don't launch a missile in the air that can be countered by anti-missile systems, but you launch it underwater. And if it has a nuclear reactor in it, it could probably travel quite far, and then explodes off the shoreline to blast a nuclear, a radioactive tsunami. That's the problem. Here's the problem with. Putin, listen for a second. If you launch a radioactive tsunami at the United States, the radioactive water just runs back into the ocean, and now the entire ocean is radioactive. What? Yeah.
What?
I know. They may not have thought about this, but
build a wall.
Listen up. Listen to your best buddy, Putin. All right. Well, that's fun. Poseidon torpedo.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Either way, obviously this is some CNN pushing. Interesting how CNN pushes more Russian propaganda than RT.
I know, it is funny, isn't it?
But regardless, it's fascinating that they're probably mobilizing stuff militarily around the world, as is China, and we saw that thing with China and Russia shaking hands, right, in the last episode, or maybe a couple episodes ago. So I don't know. They saw Biden get in office, and they're like, sweet, now we can start moving.
Perfect. All right. Well, I got some news here for you, Gons.
Oh, good.
And your people. This is from BusinessInsider.com.
Yeah.
And you'll be happy to hear nearly 2,000 New Yorkers have signed up to voluntarily escort Asian Americans to their destination amid hate crimes.
Oh, okay.
So you can get an escort. Go over to New York, get an escort. I volunteer. You know, my white privilege, Gons, is so strong that if I walk with you to your destination, people won't hate you anymore.
I want to stage something at the Google YouTube headquarters. I want to be on the shoulders of 4 European descendant males. And being, with a crowd around me, being walked up to the YouTube headquarters as I complain about being censored.
I think we could make that happen.
Yeah.
You've censored our Asian dictator. All right, let's hear about what this is. More than 1,800 New Yorkers have signed up to walk Asian Americans from any public area to their destination in an effort to combat and prevent anti-Asian violence and hate crimes. Volunteers, many of whom speak Mandarin or Cantonese, are patrolling New York. This is very Chinese-centric here.
I know.
Are patrolling the New York City neighborhoods like Chinatown and offering escorting services to anyone who asks for their help. Pix11 News reported. The initiative is part of Safe Walks NYC, started in January after a string of attacks on women in the subway. Volunteers, Pix11 News reports, give out flyers and wear bright safety belts. Oh, good. Each shift lasts 2 hours. A fundraiser to support Safe Walks initiative has raised about $17,000 since it was posted to GoFundMe in February. Quote, "We need to show our humanity. We can't let people hurt our seniors, our elders," volunteer Lisa Gold told Pix11 News. Okay, didn't say anything about Asians, but okay. Just our seniors and our elders. Okay.
Is she? Maybe she thinks that we are all just old souls.
You can't really tell sometimes. You guys retain your youth for quite much longer than us white hogs. In recent weeks, there have been numerous anti-Asian attacks in New York City. Just on Monday, a 65-year-old Asian woman was assaulted and yelled at on a New York City sidewalk. Assaulted and yelled at. Her assailant, 38-year-old Brandon Elliott, kicked her to the ground and, very brutal, stomped on her head repeatedly while 2 doormen in a luxury apartment watched. Security footage released by the police shows when Elliott walked away, the doorman closed the apartment doors on her.
I think the doorman got fired or something like that, or arrested. I can't remember. Something happened to the doorman.
No kidding. Yeah, okay, good. Nationally, recent stories related to anti-Asian violence also paint a grim picture. 2 weeks ago, police arrested a man in connection to a string of deadly shootings at 3 Atlanta area massage parlors. Yeah, we saw that one. Wow, they keep going about this guy for a couple of...
Well, they got to hit the quota for words.
Yes. Multiple research studies have identified that the number of anti-Asian crimes and violence have spiked in the last year. An analysis from Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism at California State University, San Bernardino, for example, found hate crimes overall decreased by 7% in 2020. That same study found that hate crimes specifically against Asian people rose about 150%. That's a different number than we've been hearing.
Yeah, also there's they don't exactly show the race of the people that are attacking Asians, number one.
Yeah.
And number two, this is kind of like an Eye of Sauron thing. Like this kind of thing goes on regardless of race, and it just happens all the time. But now that the studies, the Center for Study of Hate and Extremism, now that they're on it, the numbers surge and all that kind of stuff because... Right.
And they don't... let's see. Oh, they might go into it in a little bit here, but this percentage, when they do the percentage thing, is kind of weird because 150%, if there was, one raising by 150% means there's 2.5. So give us some numbers.
They were just yelled at. They weren't kicked in the head on that half one.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing too, with the definition of violence. Again, digging into the numbers. Well, let's see what they say here. But we talked about the numbers before. The definition of violence is not just physical violence, but it's also could be any number of things, graffiti or whatever. Stop AAPI Hate, a nonprofit tracking violence toward Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, released a report that identified nearly 3,800 instances of anti-Asian discrimination just in the past year. And that's a very mild estimate. Stop AAPI Hate said in its report. Okay, so it's an estimate, admittedly. Quote, the number of hate incidences reported to our center represent only a fraction of the number of hate incidences that actually occur, but it does show how vulnerable Asian Americans are to discrimination. Very vulnerable, Gons. And the types of discrimination they face, the report says. Not enough has been done to protect Asian Americans from heightened levels of hate, discrimination, and violence. Concrete actions must be taken now. A press release from Stop AAPI Hate said anything else is unacceptable. Pedestrians in New York who want to request a safe escort or to volunteer. And then there's the information that you can do there. So there's a lot in there. What do you think?
I think this is some virtue signaling.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's of course, Asian Americans at large will probably go with it like, oh, yay, now we're being, included in the conversation, because...
Yeah, well, who doesn't want it? I'm waiting for that moment when white males can call a number and get an escort.
Yeah.
I'm ready for some volunteer bodyguards, baby.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's to me, it's just virtue signaling to a degree that is pretty disgusting. And I know these people probably mean well, but I just don't. It
seems a little patronizing to me.
That's what I'm saying.
I can't speak for you. You would know more than I do, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. But it seems a little.
Yeah, it's almost like, oh, these people can't take care of themselves. They need escorts to walk them around town.
Yeah,
but that is interesting because it used to be that Asians, if you're an Asian American, you automatically know kung fu.
Yeah, I was gonna say you don't mess with the karate band. This not cool, man. Today is Jackie Chan's birthday. Don't be racist. Yeah. But it is interesting. This Lisa Gold, this volunteer who said specifically, we can't let people hurt our seniors, our elders. So I think I have a feeling that this is mostly geared towards maybe
The
Asian
elderly.
Americans who are elderly
Yeah.
and are a little bit more at risk like that. And that's great. Yeah, I think we should. I think all seniors and elders and
Yeah, why don't we
women,
just do all seniors, not just when you got the Irish or the German one? Kick him to the curb. The Asian
Did we ever
ones.
figure out why this guy beat up this old lady?
No.
I mean, was it? I'm sure. Yeah, of course they said it was because he's racist. But
What happened? What?
It's because he's black.
Oh, we didn't hear about it because he's black?
I think, no, we heard about it, but we didn't get a... Okay, so I followed the link here. Man arrested and charged with attack on 60-year-old Asian woman. He was convicted in 2002 of murdering his mom.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I heard about that. Yeah, I did. Yeah, he's a black guy.
The big example of, Asian hate is because a convicted murderer who already murdered one old woman beat this one up. Let's see here. They have the picture of him, but it's like a security image. It just looks like a man of color. I did not hear that. I'm just sort of programmed to assume the guy is a Ku Klux Klan member, white guy.
Oh, you did? I already knew that it was a black guy, but maybe...
Did you?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
That's why I mentioned in the story how, when they were talking about statistics, they don't mention the race that attacks the people, the Asians.
Yeah.
The Asian Americans.
And this is obviously going back to he's a disturbed guy. He killed his
mental
mother.
problems.
Yeah.
Mommy
he killed
issues.
his mother and somehow was out 18 years later. It just sounds like the conviction was a little light. But yeah, there's the security footage of those doormen not doing anything. Yeah, these doormen, they need...
no good.
Yeah. All right.
Well...
So there you go. If you live in New York and you're an Asian American, call the WACC patrol.
Yeah, moving on here real quick. We got to get to the break, but just real... Oh, we have the...
We got a couple things to go through, but we are going to get to a break soon.
Yeah, this one, very quickly. This is from Alabama. The AlReporter.com. Gubernatorial candidate Dean Odle to speak to Cleburne County GOP. All right. The reason why I wanted to mention this article is because this guy sounds like a Canarian.
Oh.
Gubernatorial candidate Dean Odle will address the Cleburne County Republican Party on Tuesday, April 6th. That was last night. He said, quote, "I'm a lifelong Republican and I'm running as a Republican for governor of Alabama. However, we Republicans, true conservatives, and patriots in Alabama can no longer afford to keep electing fake, weak Republicans who trample our constitutional rights and enrich themselves with unethical schemes." And by the way, when I say he sounds like a Canarian, it doesn't mean that we are, Republicans here. This is just,
all right.
Let me just keep reading here because he gets really into it. These fake Republicans, along with their socialist Democrat partners, have been undermining the founding principles and values of America and Alabama for decades. Some do it for money and power, but many of them have pledged allegiance to the New World Order agenda.
Okay.
That agenda demands the United States to give up its sovereignty and weapons to allow the United Nations to become an all-powerful world government. They want us all to become good global citizens instead of patriotic Americans. Odle claims that the coronavirus was purposely released to advance, quote, the New World Order. Quote, "The New World Order plan has many tentacles, but it was put into overdrive in 2020 with the purposeful release of the coronavirus. Since then, we have witnessed renegade governors and mayors shut down churches, which is restricting the free exercise of religion, a violation of the First Amendment. These governors, including our own Governor Kay Ivey, the state health officials have destroyed businesses, churches, and divided us in the process. Some of these officials have hindered people from getting life-saving medication either through ignorance or outright obstruction simply because President Trump mentioned it. There is also a plot to mandate dangerous vaccines to the entire world. Some governors and national politicians like Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Governor Ralph Northam of Virginia are also trying to take away our Second Amendment rights." He just goes on and on. We need leaders
for it.
who don't look to the corrupt liberal news media or deep state infiltrated government institutions to make their decisions. We need real leaders who understand what is really happening behind the scenes and what is coming in the very near future. We need leaders who are prepared to stand against every aspect of the New World Order takeover. This is why I'm running for governor of Alabama. For over 3 decades, I've researched, wrote about, and warned hundreds of thousands of people about this nefarious infiltration of our institutions by corrupt politicians, both Republican and Democrat. It is time that to elect leaders who are really awake, all cap letters, awake. We need leaders who will stand against all facets of this anti-American, anti-freedom agenda. As governor of Alabama, I promise that I will fight to keep Alabama free during the difficult days ahead of us. He goes on, he talks about Christ. Quote, I had a dramatic encounter with Jesus Christ, and soon afterward, I answered his call to the ministry. Since then, I have shared my story and the gospel of Jesus Christ in Israel, the island of what is this? Mauritius, Nigeria?
Mauritius?
Nigeria, and all over America. I have served as a youth pastor, senior pastor, church planter, educator, author, counselor, and leader for over 33 years.
No! Why? He even pulled the over 33 years.
I know.
Bro, just say 34 years. Oh.
I can picture everyone getting so pumped and then just like totally
Oh man. Look, even I don't know, who knows, whatever his thing is, maybe he's some sort of plant or disinfo thing or whatever, maybe, but if you're not, just say 34 years.
Yeah, come on.
Don't follow
the Canary Cry Consulting advice. Try to avoid the number 33 if you're a politician. If you really want the support of the awake people, all caps, awake.
Oh, man. So close.
I know.
Almost had it.
I know. But I just thought it was pretty good because it's, he hits on all the points, He really knocked it out of the park, but he just slips it in at the end,
Yeah.
That's how they do it.
Yeah, it's another Blitzkrieg AJ.
Trojan horse.
Q operative type of person. Yeah, I was going to say, scoot over, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah.
You got another, if he did get, now what is he running for exactly?
The gubernatorial candidate, I think governor.
Oh, governor.
Yeah.
Ooh, governor. Okay. Wow, that is funny.
Yeah. He's part of the Fire and Grace School of Ministry. The church and school broadcasts reach 80,000 to 100,000 viewers.
Like a Pentecostal type of organization.
Yeah, Fire and Grace. Yeah. So there you go. If you live in Alabama, you got someone to kind of cheer. I guess it's better than socialist.
At the very end of his whole quote rant, too.
I know. That's what I'm saying. He slip it in.
Lays out the whole plan and then drops the 33 at the end.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. You got
well, I got a kind of I got a series here for you, but I'll blast through it. But, I'm always keeping an eye. We haven't had an update lately, but I am keeping an eye on Mr. Chris Shilzilla.
Shilzilla's going to launch a new age and launch a new age. It's hard to say.
Yeah, so this is Chris Cillizza is his name. He hosts, I think he has like a podcast or something. He works for CNN, does a lot of stuff for CNN. Some show called The Point with Chris Cillizza.
I like the logo, like the point. He has a exclamation point for the eye of the word point. Very design friendly,
yes, very
cutting edge.
Hip. So what does Chris Shilzilla have to say? He posts a lot of stuff that I want to bring to the show, but it's not always easy to kind of, I don't know, structure in. But today we've got this article called Donald Trump Got a Lot Less Rich as President. Another example of something that CNN did that was, I think it was Shilzilla, was Trump released a picture. He just posted a picture of his office that he's working out of now. And they went through every tiny little detail of the picture and broke it down. And it was hilarious. I mean, they were breaking down look, he has a pen right here. They were like queuing, like doing a queue analysis.
Oh yeah.
I don't think they meant it to be satirical, but it felt very satirical. Anyways, Donald Trump got a lot less rich as president. During his 4 years as president, Donald Trump loved to remind people that being president was costing him a whole bunch of money. Quote, I said to one of my friends, a very wealthy friend, I said, I'll bet you it cost me $2 or $3 billion and it's worth every penny of it, Trump told Fox News in 2018. Quote, I don't need the money and it's worth every penny because I'm doing so much for the country. Quote, this thing is costing me a fortune being president, he reiterated in 2019. And this in 2020, quote, it cost me billions of dollars to be president.
Billions and billions, we get it. It costs you billions.
I know. That's this thing with Shilzilla, too. He doesn't write, like, traditional stories. I don't know. Let's keep going. While Trump's claim that being president cost him between $3 billion and $5 billion are way overblown. Okay. He said 2 or 3 billion in his quotes before, but okay. The new Forbes list of billionaires in America shows that Trump's fortune declined by more than $1 billion between when he took office in 2017 and when left office in January. Come on, Chris Shilzilla. Trump is now worth $2.4 billion, according to Forbes. That net worth puts him at number 1,299 on Forbes's 2021 billionaire list, down from 1,001 spot in 2020.
That's a lot of billionaires out there.
I know. That's a lot of billionaires.
A big list of billionaires, yeah.
I know. The conversation used to be that there was, somewhere between 300 and 500 billionaires. How it was a very small club. But the number just keeps rising. Hey, yeah. It's still a chance, kids. Don't become a podcaster. You might get a million.
Inflation will get us all there. We will all be billionaires.
Yes, there'll be $1 billion bill.
Yeah,
probably with Trump's face on it.
Yeah.
You know what? Who else just became a billionaire was Kim Kardashian.
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah, good job, Kim.
Good job, Kim. You're
It's
in the club.
After the divorce too, so I don't know how much of
I'm
Kanye's
sure
money she was able to.
Yeah, I'm sure they were all what's it called? Prenupped. They were prenupped up. All right. According to Forbes' Dan Alexander, Trump bears a decent chunk of the blame for the decline in his fortune, as Alexander writes. What the heck? According to Forbes' Dan Alexander, Trump bears a decent chunk of the blame for the decline. Oh, okay. So, yeah, Trump lost his own money. Quote, every investor at some point has kicked himself for holding an asset too long. Perhaps none, however, has made such a monumental miscalculation. By refusing to divest his portfolio upon taking office, Trump bogged down his presidency with ethics issues for years, while also missing a chance to cash in on a market boom he helped propel.
Well, they're admitting that he pumped the market. That's good.
Yeah, I know. See, that's exactly right. That was one of my points. This is CNN admitting that Trump was really good for the economy. Quote, if he had sold everything on day one, paid the maximum capital gains taxes on the sales, then put the proceeds into a conflict-free fund tracking the S&P 500, Trump would have ended his presidency an estimated $1.6 billion richer than he is today.
And then they would have used that headline to say, Trump making billions off of the presidency.
Of course.
No-win situation for this guy.
I know. Well, of course. They're acting now. And that's the funny thing. I mean, they're acting now as if there was something he could have done to win.
Right. Oh, he's so dumb. He lost billions of dollars. He could have done this. But then if he did it, they would have been like, look at this evil man making billions.
Yeah. Exactly. For 4 years, it was Trump is using the presidency to make money. And now it's, oh, look how dumb he is. Didn't make money during the presidency. Rather than divest of his assets when he was elected president, Trump instead put things in a trust managed by his two eldest sons, Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump. His eldest daughter, Ivanka, on the other hand, divested all of her major assets, including all common stock, when she joined the White House, according to Crew, a government watchdog. Ivanka and her husband, Jared Kushner, quote, reported between 172 million and 640 million in outside income while working in the White House. That's quite the range, somewhere between 172 and 640, but okay. Trump's net worth isn't a theoretical conversation about how many billions he is worth. We know from detailed New York Times reporting about Trump's tax returns that the former president is personally on the hook for more than 400 million in loans that come due over the next few years, and that his revenue streams, most notably from his successful reality shows and branding efforts, are dwindling. Yeah, because he wasn't on TV anymore. For 4 years. And you can't brand anything while you're in office. So, yeah, okay. So, again, they're just admitting he didn't break the law. Alexander has previously written that Trump is carrying more than $1 billion in debt. That plus the fact that Trump's business generated 40% less revenue in 2020 as they did in 2019. Yeah, no kidding. What business didn't suffer from a global pandemic? Yeah. Suggested that the former president's current financial situation is less than ideal. Now, that doesn't mean Trump is going broke anytime soon. He still has considerable assets and could sell off a bunch of properties he currently owns if he needed to pay the bills. Selling Trump properties, of course, would be mortifying and embarrassing for the ex-president. Okay. It's also possible that the financial institutions that hold Trump's loans will be willing to either roll them over for a few more years or renegotiate terms. In short, Trump isn't on the verge of financial ruin, but he is in a decidedly sticky and precarious financial moment when declining revenues, few alternative revenue sources available at present, and big-time debts coming due. So none of this is new with his debts. We've known about that. And yes, what billionaire doesn't have a few $100 million in debts outstanding? That's just sort of how the game works. But I just thought it was funny, for 4 years. Oh, he's monetizing the presidency. Oh, corruption. Oh, corruption. And then, yes. Oh, well, now he lost money. So what a dummy. But, Gons, I wanted to compare this with some other things going on. So we just laid out, as reported by Shillzilla, that Trump is out about $1 billion from the presidency. Right. But here we are from Forbes, and this is from April 22nd, 2019. So it's an old story, but I got a set of stories here. Forbes in 2019, April, says how the Bidens earned more than $3 million while they were in the White House. During the 8 years that Joe Biden served as vice president, he and his wife Jill earned about $3.1 million, according to a Forbes analyst of their tax returns. Half of that came from Biden's salary as president. Vice president, which Trump donated. He didn't keep his salary. Right. He earned an average of about a quarter million a year. His wife Jill made an average of $83,000 a year as an English professor at Northern Virginia Community College, located in suburban D.C. The pair also earned about $260,000 from pensions over the 8 years. They got another $240,000 in Social Security benefits, which sounds like a lot. $240,000 in Social Security for someone in their tax bracket. Anyways, which works out to be about $30,000 a year. Okay, maybe it's not that much. Biden, who was 66 years old at the time of the 2009 inauguration, had only collected some $6,500 in Social Security benefits prior to entering the White House. The Bidens also took in over $125,000 in revenue from a cottage in Wilmington, Delaware, which the Secret Service reportedly rented. From 2010 to 2015, they took in about $100,000 in net earnings from the cottage, which this I thought was a little strange. If you're the vice president, can you rent a cottage to the Secret Service? How is that?
Yeah, that's weird. But also, weren't they complaining about the same thing with Trump basically using his properties to rent out to different foreign nationals and stuff?
Well, he was renting to I believe it was like the central bank. Oh, no, it was the foreign bank of Qatar.
Right.
He had so...
Okay.
Look, I'm not saying this is the most criminal act Biden has ever done, but I'm just saying it's a weird revenue stream as vice president to rent to your own security force. Come
on, man.
Keep man. And then it gets kind of boring, but it's really nothing super sketchy here. I think the cottage is kind of the weirdest thing.
That is weird.
But, they kind of just document that, but the Bidens made $3 million during his vice presidency. But after that, let's get a little bit more funky. Let's go over to pjmedia.com. Of course, PJ Media is a sort of well-known sort of, far right, a little bit less. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, it's just
conservatism.
It's conservative, a little bit more inflammatory, a lot less traditional of a news source. But PJ Media headline, here's how Joe Biden's family got rich while he was vice president. And then it goes through James Biden, who's been an integral part of the family. Let me skip down because it gets kind of, I don't know, sketchy. James Biden was joining Hillstone. Oh, yes. Okay. Sorry. I skipped too much. Sorry. I'm just going to read the whole thing. James Biden, Schweizer explains, has been an integral part of the family political machine from the earliest days when he served as financial chair of Joe's 1972 Senate campaign. In fact, since joining the Senate, James has accompanied him on congressional delegation trips overseas. As vice president, Joe brought James to White House functions. Quote, sometimes James's White House visits dovetailed with his overseas business dealings, and his commercial opportunities flourished during his brother's tenure as vice president, writes Schweizer. James was named executive vice president of Hillstone International, a subsidiary of the huge construction management firm Hill International, less than 3 weeks after the president of the company, Kevin Justice, visited the White House in 2010. James had virtually no experience in housing construction, but that mattered little since following his being given that position, Hillstone International started getting huge government contracts.
Oh.
Yeah, so James Biden was joining Hillstone just as the firm was starting negotiations to win a massive contract in war-torn Iraq.
Oh,
6 months later, the firm announced a contract to build 100,000 homes. It was part of a $35 billion, 500,000 unit project deal won by Track Development, a South Korea company. Hillstone also received $22 million U.S. federal government contract to manage a construction project for the State Department. So, okay, Biden made some money during his now, I will say I didn't bring any articles for it, but you can easily look it up. The 2 years following vice presidency, Joe Biden, he made like $16 million.
Right.
So after he was out of office is really when the buck started flowing. And then, of course, there's Hunter Biden. Most people are probably aware that Hunter Biden got a lucrative board position at Ukrainian gas company Burisma Holdings, despite having zero relevant experience and, in quotes, earning over $80,000 a month while the company sought to exploit their Biden connection. But there's more to Hunter Biden's get-rich-quick exploitations of his father's position as vice president of the United States. Quote, with the election of his father as vice president, Hunter Biden launched businesses fused to his father's power that led him to lucrative deals with a rogues gallery of governments and oligarchs around the world. Sometimes he would hitch a prominent ride with his father aboard Air Force Two to visit a country where he was courting business, explains Schweizer. Quote, other times the deals would be done more discreetly. Always they involved foreign entities that appeared to be seeking something from his father. Schweizer details Hunter Biden's involvement with business partner Devon Archer and Burnham Financial Group. Quote, Burnham became the vehicle for a number of murky deals abroad involving connected oligarchs in Kazakhstan and state-owned businesses in China. Archer was arrested in May 2016 in connection connection to the scheme. Quote, although Hunter Biden was not charged in the case, his fingerprints were all over Burnham. The legitimacy that his name and political status as the vice president's son lent to the plan was brought up repeatedly in the trial. So we're all kind of aware of that. And then it goes into Howard Krein, Joe's son-in-law. I'm going to skip down to this little spot here. Vice President Joe Biden continued to help Krein promote his company at several appearances through his last months in the White House, including one in January 2017, where he made a surprise showing at the Startup Health Festival in San Francisco. And basically, he sold meetings with Joe Biden. Now, this was after his presidency, but in 2011, 2014, and 2015, he got to use his connection to Biden to help his medical company. Anyways, it goes into Frank Biden, Valerie Biden. So, if you're going to go in and complain about how President Trump was using his political position to enrich himself and ended up losing $1 billion, then, you got to be fair and see what our current president did just during his vice presidency. It'll be so curious to figure, see what how his wealth builds during his real presidency. And I think, Derek Gilbert said it best. I think he posted it on his Twitter. This was a while ago, comparing the things where, I'd rather have a president who lost money during the presidency than a president who earned millions of dollars during the presidency.
Well, Shilzilla knows how the Bidens and Obamas, how they made money. So, of course, they're going to criticize Trump. He's like, why didn't you do what they do? Clearly, they've laid out the blueprint. Not just them, just years of presidents have laid out the blueprint to how to make money, millions.
Orange man just can't win.
Yep. All right.
Well, I think we should take a little break. We've been going for about 2 hours here.
Way overdue break.
It's break time. Come on, take a break.
Okay, folks, we're just going to take a real quick break, but don't go anywhere, because after the break, we've got Beast System update, talking about Neuralink and the new religion. Also some surveillance panopticon news here with facial recognition, and then just a little bit of aliens mixed in with the CIA to bring out the show. But before that, we want to take a couple minutes here and thank some producers. That's right. I said producers. That's because we here at Canary Cry News Talk, we do not take any corporate money whatsoever, because every corporate sponsorship is a form of censorship. No YouTube monies, no super chats, no Twitch partnerships, no nothing, baby. And you might have noticed also no ad reads, no affiliate codes, no mail enhancement supplements, nothing. That's because, we just decided that if we're going to do what we do, we're going to have to keep some integrity and also continue the fight against the stranglehold that the advertising industry has on the world. And what do I mean by that? Well, not just commercials and things like that. A lot of people, they've been brainwashed enough to think that they don't mind a corporation bundling them up and selling them off, selling their attention, selling their trust for their own personal gain. But also, you think of Facebook, you think of the big tech who are going to be in charge of your vaccine passport, Google. All these companies make most of their money doing what? That's right, selling your data to the advertising industry and selling ads directly to your virtual construction of your mentality. That's right. Advertising is probably the most evil economic force going on in the world today, and that's why we said nay. In fact, like I said, no corporate money whatsoever. And that's because Edward Bernays, famous godfather of advertising in the mid-20th century and infamously Sigmund Freud's nephew. So, he's got a certain worldview there. Said that advertising is, all normal men need an elite man to tell them how to think, how to view the world, what their problems are, and how to solve them. And, it's all wrapped up with the Hegelian dialectic. Ever heard of it? Where they, advertising is based around creating a problem, telling you how bad you are because you have this problem, and then selling you a solution to that problem. But no, not here, folks. Here, we are on the value for value model, where we are entirely funded by listeners of the show who recognize and appreciate the value that this show has in their lives, and they take responsibility. They raise a rebel fist in the air against advertising and say that, nay, my worldview, my brain, my purchasing habits do not depend on what algorithm or advertising executive say that it should be. And instead, they decide to become a producer of the show. And that's really what it is. You're a real producer because this is the real world. When you help pay the bills to get a piece of media created, you are a producer. That's just how the business works. We didn't make it up, folks. So we want to thank some of our producers today. And the first way that you can do that is by heading over to patreon.com/CCNT for Canary Cry News Talk. And Gons, are you ready to thank some producers?
Yes, googly-eyed, sir.
First of all, I want to thank WACCINE Studios for their upgrade.
Thank you, WACCINE Studios, for the upgrade.
Indeed. And I think you erased one here.
Nope,
but
I did not, because we thanked her last episode.
But this came in... Oh, it's the 7th. Yeah, okay, I see. Never mind. Well, there you go. That's all for the Canary Cry News Talk Patreon producers. Thank you very much to WACCINE Studios for upgrading your producership of the show. And I know they were at least here earlier on the live stream. Now, Patreon is not the only way to become a producer of the show. That's okay. A lot of people don't like Patreon. We support you. That's why we have canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. canarycryradio.com/support is a great page. You should go check it out. We're going to be redesigning a lot of the webpage stuff here soon, but there's a lot of literature over there on the value for value model. If you're not quite sold on it yet, you can also learn about the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames. And there's ways to become a producer. You can come in with a monthly producership. If you just want to commit to keep the show going, that's a great way to do it there. But if commitment's not your thing, you can go ahead and make a one-time producership in any amount. Gons, who's coming in on the PayPal?
On the PayPal, we first want to thank Shield Labs coming in.
Thank you very much, Producer Shield Labs.
That's $33.33 to really drive home every cent of Illuminati shieldom.
Yes, our Illuminati handler producership. Thank you very much, Shield Labs.
Shield Labs. For some reason, I heard you say Shill Labs. Called them out.
Maybe. Who knows?
Next up, Samuel W.
Thank you very much, Producer Samuel W.
And yeah, thank you for that. I don't think there was a note there. Next up, we have Lydia G with a new recurring producer. Thank you, Lydia.
Thank you very much, Producer Lydia.
Appreciate that. And we also want to thank all of our recurring supporters and producers.
Of course.
Timothy H.
Thank you very much, Timothy H. Coming in with the fanny pack full of sevens.
Yeah.
7777.
Yeah, and I think that is our executive producer of the show this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 321. He left us a note. You guys are a huge blessing. Thank you for always providing good information that I can share with the people in my life who are starting to ask questions. That's good.
That's perfect. That's what we're here for.
Thank you also for keeping a faithful schedule. Your shows are pure joy.
Oh, thank you so much, Producer Timothy. What a wonderful note.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have producer Jake A.
Thank you very much, producer Jake A. And I believe producer Jake is also coming in as a recurring producer.
Yes.
We have some questions in the chat, Cons, about fanny pack full of sevens.
Yeah.
For those who, if you don't know, we call $7.77. That is called a pocket full of sevens. But Timothy and some other producers have come in at $77.77. So that's a fanny pack of sevens.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a pretty big fanny pack, but
yeah, we're having fun here.
Yeah. And lastly, for our PayPal producers, thank you to producer Malik.
Thank you very much, producer Malik.
Very consistent. A couple consistent.
Yes, we've got some great consistent producers. I'm realizing now, yes, fanny pack is means something different to our UK listeners, which may make that less of a family-friendly show.
Well, here in the States, it is a backpack for the front.
Yes.
From the front to waist.
You can wear the fanny pack on the back.
Or you can wear it over your shoulder.
It's a very versatile.
Yeah. You can wear it around your neck.
Yeah, a lot of people, the Gen Zers, they wear it slung over one shoulder.
Oh,
like Chewbacca's bandolier.
Ah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Thank you very much, producer Malik.
And we want to thank all of our knights and dames. Please visit canarycrynewstalk.com/knighthood if you'd like to learn more about how to join the roundtable of knights and dames for Canary Cry Radio and Canary Cry News Talk. We also have crypto, canarycryradio.com/crypto. Thank you to producer Jade Bouncerson for the timestamps. I don't think there was anybody different in the last episode. I got to double check here. Yeah, I don't think anybody had responded. So, continued appreciation for Jade Bouncerson. And again, I think they are trying to form that team. So
yes, I will put it out again because we got to notice that no producers volunteered. This is so when it comes to producing, we got time, talent, and treasure. There's plenty of ways you can produce the show. I mean, some people just want to be a freeloader. The advertising industry has trained people, shall I say, that media is just a passive participation, but not here. We're on the value for value model, baby. We couldn't do the show without all kinds of producers, and one of the, I would say, not easy, but if you are watching the live stream anyways, if you catch every show, and I know a lot of you out there do, it's very important that we are able to get these timestamps, and Jade Bouncerson has been very faithful for quite a while now in helping us get those timestamps. It goes into the YouTube description. It helps newcomers and researchers click around the video and hit those timestamps, and so they don't have to sit for 3 hours and make it all the way through. If they don't want to, they can click around to different topics, subject matter, and articles. And as we move into the era of podcasting 2.0, even the podcast version is going to have chapters, but we need some producers to volunteer to help. Now, this is not an every single episode thing. For you out there who maybe don't want to or are unable to produce in other ways, art, music, or financially, if you catch the live stream, this is a really valuable way to help produce the show. And if you're watching it anyways, all it is just a matter of, taking down time codes for when we switch topics, and it will go a long way to help a lot of people in the future. Not just for, skipping around an episode, but also research. A lot of people go back and want to re-examine a lot of the stories that we talk about, share them with their friends, having these timestamps. The people who help produce with the timestamps, you got to think about the ripple effect that you have. When you do that, there's tens of thousands of people who are then able to share those timestamps with maybe friends who are waking up or whatever. And it really has kind of a bigger effect than you might think. It's a very impactful producership that Jade Bouncerson has, and we've had a couple of producers get involved as well, but we need a couple more to make it sort of a sustainable system. So if you're out there and you catch at least one episode a week regularly, please send an email to jadebouncerson@gmail.com. Gons, will you pop that in the chat for us? That's Jade Bouncerson, JADEBOUNCERSON @gmail.com. Get involved, and Jade will catch you up and give you a little orientation and sort of get you going. So there you go. This is a desperate cry, a desperate call for, we only need a few to make this a very sustainable producership. And, there you go. You also get some producer credit on the episodes here. Did we have one of the other timestamp producers help with the last episode?
That's what I was checking. I don't think producer Christine is the other one. I don't think she did it for the last one.
Okay. But, all right. Well, get involved, peeps, because that's something we really need. So pray about it. It's pretend you're at church, and the pastor's asking for a little bit of help on Sunday passing out pamphlets. What are you going to do? Just not have any pamphlets passed out? Come on. Okay, let's move on.
All right. I looked up the British definition.
Mm-hmm. Why'd you do that? You should not do that.
Because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know there was like a different meaning.
Well, Gons's eye gates have been sullied.
We bum bags. We're going to change it to bum bags full of sevens is what we should do.
Good luck. All right. We got any creative producers today?
Yes. There's multiple ways you can support the show with your producership. Of course, with your treasure, your time, but also your talent. And we have something special today. We got a jingle. Actually, it's a whole song from producer Curtis. And so we want to thank producer Curtis. And I'm trying to find the note here. Oh, here we go. And producer Curtis also sent a screenshot to go along with it. The screenshot is Fox Business Live. He caught the Dow futures price hit $33,333.
Oh.
Spot on.
Okay.
And he said, I just wanted to share an original song and a screenshot today as I thought of you both, Basil and Gons, when I noticed the New York Stock Exchange was $33,333, and I could snip it for you guys. Thank you for all your hard work. Sincerely, faith and good vibes, not to mention common sense. So thank you, producer Curtis. And producer Curtis has a song. We'll play the whole thing at the end of the show. It's called Biden Our Time. And let me play a few seconds here of the song. Let me go ahead and go here.
Biden our time, Biden our tongues, losing our mind and killing our young. Biden our time, Biden our tongues, losing our minds, killing our young.
Come on, man.
That's me adding the stuff in there. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, great song. We'll play the whole thing at the end of the Canary Cry mixtape at the end of the show. So when we say goodbye, stick around. You got some great original tunes from Canary Cry producers.
Yep. So thank you for that, producer Curtis. Curtis Keyboards.
Ooh,
is how he likes to be known. Okay, but we also have some art.
One art, please.
And this first one comes from producer Ali, and it is Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh gosh,
yeah,
he's terrifying looking in this. Very well done. Was there a description that came with
the
this?
zucchini
it's
burger.
The classic. Oh.
Yeah, he's drinking, he's sipping out of the
it's from his congressional hearing when he, his programming told him that humans love water, must drink water, prove human.
The note says, Zuck pauses for a sip of water amidst the thousands of phone calls resulting from the Facebook hack that leaked his phone number. It's okay, though.
Yeah.
He loves chatting with his loyal Facebook subjects. After all, he was human. I mean, is human. Very good. Very good.
Very good. Thank you very much, Producer Ali. That's Ghislaine Bonds in the chat. And yes, for those who are just listening, just a perfect portraiture of Mark Zuckerberg at his congressional hearing, doing a very good job at convincing everybody he's a human who loves water.
Yeah, very well done. Next up, we have producer Mr. Magoo.
Okay.
More kitty art, please.
Yes, this is another episode of The True Adventures of Basil and Gons, episode 2, Kitty Cats. And if you're just listening, this is in Magoo's classic 4-year-old art style. And let's see what happens in the exciting world of Basil and Gons today. The first panel, it's me and you, Gons, just chilling, standing, looking like, regular humans, except for my eyeballs are gigantic and googly.
I look like a melting cactus. What's going on with that?
You do look like a sort of a man-bear-pig thing. But we're very proud of Mr. Magoo, very creative young man with a developing brain. Basil says, "Hey, Gons, I need to tell you before we start Canary Cry Radio, I'm really, 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 really into kitty cats." And then next panel is just a one shot.
You gotta read the stuff I say.
Oh, yes. Gons goes ... And then Gons says, "That's cool, bro."
Well, it says
next
fawns,
panel.
but yeah.
I think it was a missed opportunity at a G. Then the next panel is Basil says, "Yeah, happy face." And next panel, meanwhile, back at Basil's pad, and there's just a bunch of cute little kitty cats hanging from the ceiling, climbing the walls. It's
7 of them.
Yeah, it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. 7, that's a good goal to shoot for. I'm not quite there yet, though. Thank you very much, Mr. Magoo, for another episode of The True Adventures of Basil and Gons.
Very good. Thank you so much, Mr. Magoo. Next up, we have producer Shay. And producer Shay said, "Hey, Basil and Gons, I just wanted to share a picture of my guinea pigs. I listen to your show live as much as possible, but if I can't catch it live, I watch the archive. I spend most of my time in the room with these guys, and they get to hear your show as well. And though they never say it, I believe they love it too. Basil has his cats, and I have my piggies. God bless you too, and keep up the good work. Love you guys so much. Shay, Total Wrong Think on Twitch." Thank you.
Thank you very much. Total Wrong Think, Shay over on Twitch. Oh, and there they are in the chat there.
All right.
Good. Well, your guinea pigs are now famous. We've got to give a shout out to Clover, Princess. Princess Awesome is here. Marshmallow, Precious, and Pickles. Oh. And there's a bunch of very cute little guinea pigs, and they all have giant googly eyes on their face as to protect their identity. We don't want to dox any guinea pigs.
Yeah, we don't need them to get the eye scan.
Yeah,
the
that's
Clearview
right.
AI eye scan.
That's right. Well, thank you very much, Shay. Total Wrong Think on Twitch. But that's the thing, Canary Cry. We're not just a family-oriented show, but we're also, you get the whole family, get the pets in there.
Animal friendly.
Yes, I'm sure those who, your plants played around your house plants. You gotta woke your succulents, folk.
Okay. All right. Thank you, producer Shay. Lastly, we have Quantum Solace coming in with another piece.
Another episode of Samurai Gons.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
It's more Dragon Ball Gons, Basil and Gons.
Yeah, well, it's a crossover.
Yeah.
In the Canary Cry cinematic universe.
Yep.
Okay, you want me to go through this?
Yes,
First panel.
please do.
It looks like you and I were in some sort of cave. We got some stalagmites.
Yeah.
You are standing We are approaching a pedestal that has the 4-star Dragon Ball on it, and you are saying, "There it is, Basil, the final Dragon Ball. Our long, devastating journey is finally over." And I'm peeking out from behind the pedestal, reaching for the Dragon Ball. Cough, cough. The next panel is me close up, googly eyes wandering all over the place, but approaching the Dragon Ball closely. And it says, "I know all the pain, suffering, and death we've seen. Now it's finally over." Next panel, Gonzo, looks like you have grabbed the Dragon Ball and you say, "I honestly can't believe we survived. Those tiny Godzilla monsters were the worst part. I mean, they killed everyone but you and I." And I respond, "But now it's over, Gonz. We can finally ask Shenlong for..." The next panel, us fist bumping a Nintendo Switch. Heck yeah, bro. Give me some.
Good payoff.
Good. This, you'll need some both Dragon Ball lore and Canary Cry lore to fully understand this one, but I'm sure we've got some Dragon Ball fans out there. Now that I'm thinking of it, we've had many of our Canary Swole radio artwork that's come through. We've been pretty close to Dragon Ball Z level musculature.
Yeah, I mean, if I can have the gravity affecting, little sphere thing to train in.
Yeah,
I'll get there in no time.
Have to bust out a googly-eyed Kamehameha. It'll be great.
Yeah, Kamehameha. You sound so Euro, bro.
Yeah, I know. I'm not a very good. Oh man, what is it called? What's the sort of derogatory name for white people that like anime?
White hogs.
Yes. Oh, dang it! I wish I remembered what it is. Oh well, we'll bring it up later. Thank you very much. Who is this? Quantum of Solace.
Quantum Solace.
Quantum Solace.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. We're gonna have to combine. In the new website situation that we put together, we're gonna have a very robust art section, I think.
Yeah, we have to. We got to make it good.
Yeah.
Cool. And then just real briefly, I wanted to mention the meetups.
Weebo.
What?
That's what it was.
What is it?
Weebo. Weebs.
Oh. Yeah, I remember that. So Ciara sent us a little flyer for the Northern California, Oregon, Washington Canary Cry meetup. Come join fellow Canarians for fun, fellowship, and adventure. Children always welcome. April 24th, 2 p.m. at the Luffenholtz Beach, Trinidad, California. And it's kind of hard to read, but you can see the email address there, ciaralauren93@gmail.com for more information.
Yeah, this is really cool. And I'm glad we got a little bit more info on this. I like how it's, what are the descriptors? Fun?
Fellowship and adventure.
Fun, fellowship, and adventure.
Yeah.
These Canary Cry meetups, they're not your normal meetup, man.
No,
We've got
does not sound like it.
Fellowship, fun, and adventure. So I don't know what's going to happen. Of course, we shared some photos and fun from the Texas meetup where they visited the grassy knoll, had a bunch of Canarians together. Looked like a great time. Thank you, producer Ciara, for making this happen. But the Pacific Northwest meetup is coming up. So, hey, if you're in Oregon or Washington or Northern California, I highly recommend getting together with these other Canarians, if nothing else than to prove that there are other human beings like you. So it's a valuable experience.
Yes, very much so. So if you're in that area, go meet people of like mind.
Will you give those details one more time?
April 24th, 2 p.m., Luffenholtz Beach, Trinidad, California. Contact Ciara Lauren, that's CIARALAUREN93@gmail.com for more information.
There you go. Do it. Get connected to other human beings. It's a weird experience.
Yep. And I think that does it for all of our support there. Did you want to mention?
I do want to mention again, we haven't mentioned it every episode, but we just had a little phone call with producer Smiley, who has been
gotta log in.
Who has created and has been managing the Canary Cry community. It is a very vibrant community that is in no way connected to Facebook. So, where you can still get your social media experience, but do it with people who are not going to be triggered when you talk about some theory or post a meme, or you're not going to get banned or anything for talking about weird Canary Cry stuff. And again, another opportunity to connect to other producers and listeners just like you. We get messages pretty often about people who just have gotten so much value out of canarycry.community, and we're very thankful to producer Smiley for and his whole moderator team for making sure that is a thriving community and a wonderful place for listeners of the show to get together. So that's canarycry.community. That's right. That's the whole URL. It's a discourse forum style thing, so you still have your profile and stuff, but don't go there expecting the Facebook experience. I realize a lot of people, when they think of social media, they're just like, oh, I just want another version of Facebook. It's not quite like that. It's more similar to like a forum type of experience, but with some other social media things mixed in there. It's a great experience, and you'll love connecting to other Canarians just like you. So head on over to canarycry.community.
Very good.
There was one thing in the chat that I wanted to address, but I think I forgot it and lost it forever.
Yes,
so,
it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Let's wake up. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Why don't you take this one?
Let's fly through these. This first one is a beast system story.
Speaking of the beast system, beast system.
And this is from futurism.com. Neuralink co-founder has an idea for a new religion. It might already exist.
Great.
And the top header image is of a Burning Man, which triggers all of the Canary Cry faithful.
Yeah.
Max Hodak, the entrepreneur who co-founded Neuralink, or the neurotech company Neuralink, alongside Elon Musk, has an idea for an entirely new religion, and it involves tripping on substances to feel the presence of God. Quote, increasingly believe there is an opportunity for a new religion, Hodak tweeted.
That is not a new religion.
Shh. Hodak.
Come on, man.
Okay, let's keep going.
Hodak tweeted in reply to productivity startup Fort Labs founder Tiago Forte, or Forte Labs. Forte had said that, quote, after a decade as an atheist, I think I'll try religion again, and was looking for recommendations for a religion that respects science, cares about the underprivileged, and is also not, quote, evangelistic or politically active. Forte's quest set up an interesting idea by Hodak. What if there was a religion that, quote, embraces the weirdness of math and physics and is facilitated by entheogens. Okay. An umbrella term for psychoactive substances ingested for religious or spiritual purposes, including ayahuasca and LSD. Needless to say, go ahead.
Real quick, this entheogens, I just want to point this out because that's what we do here. So entheogens, you're going to start seeing this term a lot more often instead of psychedelics or hallucinogens or things like that. Sort of how there was a complete transition from marijuana to cannabis.
Yeah.
This entheogens, you're going to start seeing this all the time in reference to...
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yes. This is partly due to some new books that have recently come out.
Yes.
Regarding psychoactive stuff.
Okay, so entheogens, en meaning in or within, theo meaning God or divine, and gen meaning creates or generates. Mm-hmm. So basically generating God within.
Yeah.
As an experience. That makes sense. Needless to say, it's a rather unusual idea coming from a man who co-founded a company with the express intent to physically access your brain via a brain-machine interface. To Hodak, such a religion would offer, quote, practical moral guidance and also create a sense of community, something that people already get through church. Other Twitter users willing to take up the biomedical engineer on the idea pointed out that it might already exist in the form of the Burning Man Festival, which has existed cachet in the startup crowd. Quote, which has existing cachet in the startup crowd. Quote, the man burn should definitely be a high holiday in such a religion, he responded in a follow-up tweet, referring to the act of a massive temple being constructed over the 8 days of a popular art festival and burned to the ground on the final night. Besides, plenty of burners already have a tendency to embrace weirdness by ingesting it's hard to say, entheogens.
Entheogens.
I'm used to saying ethno something.
Yeah.
Entheogens.
That's the thing. It's this new and part of what you're experiencing is on purpose, because the term psychedelics has such an ingrained cultural bias to it that they're trying to switch it out with entheogens to legitimize the substances.
Right. It's not the first time Hodak has entertained some mind-bending concepts. Just last week, he suggested that video games are about to become a lot more real. Quote, we're going to need a better term than video game once we start programming for more of a sensorium, like sensor, and then like an emporium, sensorium.
Yep.
It can be difficult to reconcile technological progress with more traditional forms of spirituality, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. Would a microchip implanted in the brain perhaps facilitate a religion based on a decentralized, science-forward way of thinking, as Hodak suggests? That would be speculation, but the idea is intriguing. But one thing is for sure, Silicon Valley executives aren't afraid to entertain provocative ideas in the open, no matter how far-fetched. It's so provocative. And I like how the atheist is like, oh, try religion. Let me just throw one out there. And Twitter, what do you think? These are my parameters. And it's just kind of shallow.
Yeah.
I do want to highlight something from the book, and for those of you watching, I'm holding it here. It's called The Game of Gods, written by Carl Teichrieb. Mm-hmm. And he wrote on page 420, light it up, 420.
Nice.
He said, let me read a couple parts here. The Searching for Unity with Diversity workshop suggested that religious commonality is discovered in the metaphysical. This is the heartbeat of perennialism, and it sets up the interfaith movement to become interspiritual. Although the 2015 Parliament stated that the goal was, quote, interreligious harmony and not unity, the intent and trajectory of the movement ever since the 1893 Parliament has been the pursuit of spiritual oneness within diversity. An interesting speculation can be extrapolated, and I stress that this is conjecture only, although I think he's being verified here.
Yeah.
Could a worldwide spiritual experience be the catalyst for global unity? Could a worldwide spiritual experience be the catalyst for global unity? If so, how might this be achieved? Might a psychedelic agent be designed to induce human oneness? And could this agent be in the form of a mark, a personal identifier permanently placed on the hand or the forehead? This mark, a tangible sign of global citizenship, like a digital loyalty card, would be needed for buying and selling. Possibly this mark could be tailored to interact with one's genetics and brain chemistry, unlocking the stimulant that heightens perceptions and induces flow, like a manageable global upper that everyone experiences together and no one wants to be without or opt out of. There would be no spectators in the networked planet. everybody would be a participant in the global myth of a brave new world. Maybe this transhuman elixir would be called Soma. And he goes on there. I think Mr. Carl Tykerib
called it. Yeah.
Based on this idea here that,
I want to thank Xavier DC over on Twitter for tagging us in a bunch of stuff. Tagged us and Derek, Gilbert, and Carl, sharing this article with us. And it reminded me we have not spoken with Carl in a little bit, or Derek. So anybody out there, feel free to just tweet at Carl or Derek and I don't know, something fun. Maybe googly eyes are watching you. We'll let them figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, that's and this kind of thing, obviously, not surprising. I think it's interesting that futurism in a section called "Bow to Your New God."
Yeah. Well, it goes back to the Mercer box as well. Again, to make another reference, of course, he's referencing Brave New World there. And, of course, a little nod to Aldous Huxley's perennial philosophy as well, which I think he was mostly on absinthe for. But, it's all a big party.
And Huxley...
also, with Neuralink in general, you've got the references to the Mercerism from Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep there, where it's a technological device that you can tune into that connects you with the web of human empathy and understanding and oneness as a technological religious experience.
Yeah, and the connection with Aldous Huxley, hanging out with certain people that were all into LSD and the whole deal, that influenced American evangelicalism, believe it or not, pretty disturbing. Yeah. Pretty disturbing stuff.
It's all in the mid 20th century there. It was everybody was all mixed up. Who was there's too many names to try to remember. But yes, very interesting how they're, evangelicalism, politics, and this sort of new spirituality aided by entheogens, way before. I mean, we're talking about in the 40s and 50s and 60s. This was very impactful on today's society, and I think a lot of people don't quite realize it.
Yeah, the most disturbing part is if you're like a Republican, conservative, evangelical type, and you mention certain talking points that you think are pretty logical in a sense to defend that side of the political aisle, you're kind of repeating some of the stuff that some of these folks came up with.
It's all a big plan.
It's a big psyop. So anyway, we'll flush that out.
Sounds like you'll be presenting some of this information soon.
Yeah, we'll be doing that in a big documentary.
Yeah.
All right.
Do I get to be in Age of Deceit 4? Hey, no pressure. I'm just saying it now, just so everybody knows.
I could interview you as an anonymous.
I have gone on research projects to Burning Man.
True.
Yeah, and I know a lot about entheogens.
Okay. All right. Okay. I can assign you some things.
I need something for my resume, guys.
Yeah, it'll just a real serious film, and then googly eyes pops up out of nowhere to explain certain things.
Oh man,
I'll need a more serious version of the googly eyes that might not.
I don't even need to be on video.
That's true.
Be in, I don't. Or we could do the silhouette thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I can't give away. We got to do the official silhouette thing. Very legit, anonymous guy, because I can't give away my face, or else all my work, my work at Burning Man will be given away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Elon will recognize me, and we can't have that.
And then Elon will say, "Hey, it's me." That's gonna trigger people for the mysterious side of things.
Where are the aliens?
Where are the aliens?
Next, you good? You done with
Yep,
that?
done with that.
All right. We're being watched.
Did you ever have the feeling that you were being watched?
I don't know if you know this or not, but over here on BuzzFeedNews.com, Surveillance Nation, a BuzzFeed News investigation has found that employees at law enforcement agencies across the U.S. Ran thousands of Clearview AI facial recognition searches, often without the knowledge of the public or even their own departments. Let's see what's going on. A controversial facial recognition tool designed for policing has been quietly deployed across the country with little to no public oversight, according to reporting and data reviewed by BuzzFeed News. More than 7,000 individuals from nearly 2,000 public agencies nationwide have used Clearview AI to search through millions of Americans' faces looking for people, including Black Lives Matter protesters, Capitol insurrectionists, petty criminals, and their own friends and family members. BuzzFeed News has developed a searchable table of 1,803 publicly funded agencies whose employees are listed in the data as having used or tested the controversial policing tool before February 2020. These include local and state police, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the Air Force, state healthcare organizations, offices of state attorneys general, and even public schools. Wow. The healthcare organizations and the schools are like the two most unsuspected and scary parts of that. In many cases, leaders at these agencies were unaware that employees were using the tool. 5 said they would use pause or ban. They would pause or ban its use.
They would use their paws and
use their
smack
pause
people
button.
across the forehead.
No, their paws, yeah. 5 said they would pause or ban its use in response to questions about it. Our reporting is based on data that describes facial recognition searches conducted on Clearview AI between 2018 and February 2020, as well as tens of thousands of pages of public records and outreach to every one of the hundreds of taxpayer-funded agencies included in the data set. The data, provided by a source who declined to be named for fear of retribution, has limitations. When asked about it in March of this year, Clearview AI did not confirm or dispute its authenticity. Some 335 public entities in data set confirmed.
335.
Yes, so close. Entities in the dataset confirmed to BuzzFeed News that their employees had tested or worked with the software, while 210 organizations denied any use. Most entities, 1,161, did not respond to questions about whether they had used it. Still, the data indicates that Clearview has broadly distributed its facial recognition software to federal agencies and police departments nationwide, offering the app to thousands of police officers and government employees who at times used it without training or oversight. Often, agencies that acknowledged their employees had used the software confirmed it happened without the knowledge of their superiors, let alone the public they serve. Such widespread use of Clearview means that facial recognition may have been used in your hometown with very few people knowing about it. You should click that link above, see if the Orange County peeps are using it.
Where's that link? Is it at the very top?
It's up in the first paragraph. Yeah.
All right, I'll take a look here.
In a statement to BuzzFeed News, Hon Ton That, the company's co-founder and CEO, said it was, quote, gratifying to see how quickly Clearview AI has been embraced by U.S. law enforcement. Yeah, he's just got dollar signs in his eyes. He declined to answer more than 50 detailed questions about the company's practices and relationships with law enforcement agencies. Quote, we might need to look into this guy. Hon Ton That.
Hometown that.
Yeah, does that ring any? Maybe. I guess I'm just trying to say. You think that's Chinese or Korean or what? Where's that from?
That sounds Vietnamese.
That's
but I don't know.
Something like that.
He's an Australian entrepreneur.
Well, that makes him Chinese right there. Quote, Americans shouldn't have to rely on BuzzFeed to learn their local law enforcement agencies were using flawed facial recognition technology. Senator Ron Wyden in Oregon, Democrat, told BuzzFeed News. Wow. What?
Whoa. This
kind of an insult right to their
this
face.
This Honton Vat guy, in 2009, he created a company called Happy Appy, and its app Video, a phishing and application computer worm that spanned the user's contacts.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So he's a bad guy.
He's a bad guy.
He's officially a bad guy.
He was sought by police when this worm spread in 2009. He then created fastforwarded.com, a similar phishing site. Tontat later worked at AngelList.
So he's basically a criminal. He's basically a known criminal writing computer viruses. And now he's supplying facial recognition to law enforcement agencies in America?
Yeah, and look at this. It emerged from stealth mode in 2017. Hold on.
Stealth mode? Come on. I hate these guys.
They partnered on an application with Schwartz, paying server costs and basic expense. And Tontat hired 2 engineers who worked on software that could scrape images from internet sources to cross-reference on the facial recognition algorithm. It emerged from stealth mode in 2017 and was linked to far-right alt-right supporters such as Chuck Johnson, Mike Cernovich, Douglas McKay, and Paul Nalen.
Cernovich, you think this had to do with? You think this had to do with the that original, big secret technology that was going to be used to win Trump's thing?
Maybe. Clearview AI received investments from Peter Thiel, co-founder of PayPal,
my gosh.
and Naval Ravikant, totaling more than $200,000, which later converted into equity in the company. Upon Clearview AI receiving cease and desist letters from Google, YouTube, Venmo, and LinkedIn, Tontat appeared on CBS this morning for an interview with CBS News correspondent Earl Barrett in February 2020. So, yeah, I mean, not...
yeah, he went from being a computer virus author to being a super sketchy and annoying entrepreneur plugged in with other super sketchy and annoying big tech guys to create the surveillance state.
Yeah, he had to say that he's not a white supremacist or an anti-Semite, and then he claimed that Clearview AI is exclusively a law enforcement tool, and stated that, quote, it's fair game to help law enforcement solve crimes using publicly available data.
Okay. For years now, law enforcement agencies have experimented with facial recognition, a technology that promises to help identify people of interest by matching surveillance photos to known images, such as a headshot from a driver's license or a passport. But there are several barriers to its adoption, including high cost, unreliable results, and public opposition. Clearview has pushed its technology into the mainstream with a product it claims is both more accurate and cost-effective than those of its competitors.
Oh, sorry. I just remember this guy. I remember talking about this guy when we talked about Clearview before.
Sure.
How old do you think he is?
I would imagine his 30s or 40s.
Yeah, he's 32.
Yeah.
He's going to be 33.
Ooh.
Yeah.
For a time, it made the tool accessible via a free trial to almost any law enforcement officer who wanted to sign up. Officer, like individual people.
Yeah, humans, not the agencies, but the officers themselves.
Regular guys can sign up for this thing.
Weird.
Quote, I found this site on a law enforcement website last year. I set up an account to see if it worked. Adrian Williams, police chief of Williams Mills, North Carolina, wrote to BuzzFeed News in December of 2020. Williams said he had tested Clearview AI using his own personal photos, but the software returned no matches. Quote, I ran 2 known persons to see if they came back with any useful info. I didn't think it worked the way the ad said it would, he said. The New York City-based startup claims to have amassed one of the largest known repositories of pictures and people's faces, a database of more than 3 billion images scraped without permission from places such as Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you've posted images online, your social media profile picture, vacation snapshots, or family photos may well be part of a facial recognition dragnet that's been tested or used by law enforcement agencies across the country. Data analyzed by BuzzFeed News indicated that individuals at some 1,803 agencies were all contacted and asked whether they had ever used Clearview, ran almost 340,000 searches. Based on conversations with people who have used the software, a Clearview search may include a demonstration scan at a trade show, a police officer looking up a colleague as a test, or an actual investigative attempt to find a person of interest. While this database represents only a snapshot of Clearview's reach as of February 2020, it provides unprecedented insight into how facial recognition technology can spread through law enforcement agencies across the country. Smaller police departments were among Clearview's earliest users. Officials in Mountain Brook, Alabama, which has a population of about 20,000, tested the product and ran nearly 590 searches. In Illinois, the Secretary of State's office ran nearly 8,900 searches, telling BuzzFeed News that the software was used. Quote, to assist other law enforcement agencies in their investigation. A police department crime analyst in Laywood, Kansas, tried Clearview thanks to a recommendation from a peer. Whoa, sorry, my hand went out of control. Oh, goodness gracious. Only to discover another detective had already been using the software, a spokesperson said. The two officers ran 50 searches before the department decided it didn't want to buy the product. Oh, yeah, so you got the free user, the free use, free trial, and then you got a purchase after that. The Wyoming Highway Patrol gave Clearview a go for about 3 weeks last February, Sergeant Jeremy Beck said. Even a representative at Washington's Department of Fish and Wildlife and Minnesota's Commerce Fraud Bureau confirmed to BuzzFeed News that individuals within their organizations tested the software. A spokesperson for Iowa's Public Defender Office said people used it, quote, to better understand how law enforcement might use it. Following an inquiry from BuzzFeed News, the Washington National Guard's counter-drug program found that an instructor at its Western Regional Counter-Drug Training Center had not only registered to use Clearview's facial recognition software without permission, but had also incorporated it into the curriculum for an officer training course. This course was open to, quote, federal, state, local, and tribal law enforcement per emails obtained by BuzzFeed News through a public records request. Quote, any mention of this software has now been stripped from our training materials, said Karina Chagrin, communications director for Washington's military department. Quote, and we're now conducting a top-down review of all trainings programs. Wow, this is really genius, but also really evil of this guy. And it does not surprise me to directly advertise and reach out to individual officers and not, try to get it instituted in like an organizational sense, but just any curious police officer can get this stuff and start searching people's faces. It's really quite insidious.
Yeah.
This article is extremely long.
Yeah, you don't have to get through all of it.
Yeah,
I think we
I was
get
wondering
the point
if
here.
you had anything highlighted or anything you wanted to touch.
I don't really. I think we got through the main points. But
yeah, it talks about it's been used on Black Lives Matter protests in Fort Wayne, Indiana. It's been used pretty much everywhere. I mean, there's a pretty good chance that that this has been used in a place near you. Did you find anything interesting in your searchable table?
No, the searchable table didn't really. It's 181 pages. First off. Oh, you know what? I'm just finding. Hold on, I'm just finding the search function here. So let me see.
It's right there's a little bar.
My area, Orange County District Attorney's Office, 101 to 500 search count. Orange County Intelligence Assessment Center, same thing, 101 to 500. OC Sheriff's Office, same thing, under 500, and Orange County Sheriff's Office that's Florida. So yeah, it looks like they used it in my local neighborhood here. They were used during the free trial And the first district attorney's office did not respond to requests for comment. The intelligence.
I just searched Texas because we have a lot of Texas listeners, all over Texas, including Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, the Attorney General. Yeah, all sorts of. This is everywhere.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's like the whole app thing. It's the whole app model. It's like, oh, just download it, use it for free.
Yeah, it's like a freemium.
And then at a certain point, you're gonna have to start paying.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the model now. And have you seen a picture of the guy, That?
Nope.
I'm gonna show a picture of him on the screen here now for those of you watching.
Yeah, I don't have.
Doesn't have trusting eyes, I would say.
Trusting eyes. Hold on, I don't have the stream open. Let me get to it.
He was ranked second. Ranked number 1 solo competitor in Australia's.
Oh, that is not what I expected.
No.
How does this person identify?
Yeah,
gender-wise.
I think he's a guy because he's number 2 guitarist under age 16 in Australia's national Eisteddfod music competition.
Okay.
So he can really shred.
It doesn't have to be a man.
It doesn't.
Okay, all right.
Nothing else. He's Vietnamese and Australian.
Young person, baby face, I'd say. Very baby face.
Yeah, there you go.
By the way, we haven't mentioned it at all. Make sure to hit the like button if you haven't done that yet.
I totally forgot.
Like, subscribe, bell button, all. Like, subscribe, bell button, all.
At the very end when most people have left. But if you're still here, you're a trooper.
That's right.
Does it say something about his sexuality? I see people in the chat saying stuff about his gender, or maybe they're just.
I don't. I didn't think it's important. I'm just, he's just an interesting looking person.
Yeah.
Yeah, but looks like they could be 25. Looks very
well, maybe
young.
his picture is from a few years before, because
could be
32 now, so All right, we got one more story.
But yes, also looks devious.
Yeah, not the good. If I was the guy,
they are happy to profit off of, taking people's freedoms for granted.
Yeah, if I was a guy and I looked at the picture and I saw that, I'd be like, can I get another picture? Okay. Do a better shot there.
You better be careful. He's going to upload your facial recognition to the dark web.
What are we doing here? I mean, yeah. All right. Here we go.
Aliens.
This is from dailymail.co.uk. Former CIA or former director of the CIA, James Woolsey, said he was skeptical about aliens until a friend's aircraft was paused at 40,000 feet, and he hopes we can be friendly to other creatures if they exist.
Friend's aircraft paused. Paused the aircraft. Okay.
Now let me.
You've got me.
Got your attention.
Me hooked.
Let me just remind everybody who James Woolsey is. Okay. This is James Woolsey on Fox News with Ingraham talking about Russian efforts to disrupt the elections from 2018.
Take more and more under their wing.
Have we ever tried to meddle in other countries' elections?
Oh, probably. But it was for the good of the system in order to avoid the communists from taking over. For example, in Europe, in 47, 48, 49, the Greeks and the Italians, we
don't do that now, though. We don't mess around other people's elections, Jim.
Only for a very good cause.
Can you do that? Do a Vine video on those former...
Yeah, he's the nom-nom guy.
He's the nom-nom guy, yes.
That's the guy.
Former CIA head who, didn't really want to come out and say that we're constantly meddling in elections, but...
All right, so what does he say here? A former CIA director has spoken of his new openness to the possibility that alien life telling a story of an airplane that was brought to a halt at 40,000 feet, and saying he hoped that mankind was friendly to extraterrestrials if they ever made contact. R. James Woolsey, who ran the CIA from 1993 to 95, spoke to the Black Vault's YouTube channel on Friday. Woolsey, 79, spoke to promote his new book, that's why, Operation Dragon, in which he claims that Lee Harvey Oswald killed JFK on the orders of the Kremlin. Former CIA guy saying the official story is the true one on behalf of Russia. For sure, disinfo. Like, that's like disinfo 101. The former intelligence chief who served under Bill Clinton said he had in recent years heard numerous stories of unexplained aerial phenomena. There have been over the years now events of one kind or another, usually involving some kind of aircraft like airframe, he began. And then a bunch of stuff here. Get out of the way, get out of the way. Woolsey said that the stories, quote, always seemed pretty far out to me, he continued. But there was one case in which a friend of mine was able to have his aircraft stop at 40,000 feet or so and not continue operating as a normal aircraft. What was going on? I don't know. Does anybody know? Woolsey said that the source was, quote, someone I respect. John Greenwald Jr., the host, pointed out that other former CIA directors have said they are open to the possibility of alien life. In December, John Brennan, CIA director from 2013 to 17, told the podcast he felt it was arrogant to believe we were alone in the universe. Life is defined in many different ways, Brennan said during the December 16th episode of Conversations with Tyler. Quote, I think it's a bit presumptuous and arrogant for us to believe that there's no other form of life anywhere in the entire universe. On March 19th, Donald Trump's Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, said there were far more sightings reported than were publicly known. We reported on that a couple weeks ago. There's a lot more sightings than have been made public, he told Fox News. Quote, some of those have been declassified, and when we talk about sightings, we are talking about objects that have seen by Navy or Air Force pilots or has been picked up by satellite imagery that frankly engage in actions that are difficult to explain, movements that are hard to replicate that we don't have the technology for, or traveling at speeds and exceed the sound barrier without a sonic boom. Analysts are eagerly awaiting a forthcoming report into unexplained aerial phenomena. The government was, in December, given a 180-day deadline to disclose what it knew, meaning that the report should be out before June 1st. The report, produced by the Pentagon and the intelligence agencies, must identify, among other things, any threats posed by unidentified aerial phenomenon and whether they may be attributed to foreign adversaries. More video. Quote, these people have reported very curious behavior by aircraft, Woolsey continued, and it may be something real that is an extraordinary change for some unheralded reason. Or it may be a complex set of what is going on in the world of cyber and so forth. I just don't know. Why would he mention cyber? Isn't that weird?
Yeah, read that part again.
So he said, these people have reported very curious... Oh, maybe he's just saying, like, people on the internet are just mentioning things that are crazy. But let me read it again. These people have reported very curious behavior by aircraft, Woolsey continued, quote, and it may be something real that is an extraordinary change for some unheralded reason, or it may be a complex set of what is going on in the world of cyber and so forth. I just don't know.
That is weird.
It's weird.
I mean, it could just be like a Hillary Clinton old person way of trying to say
something on the internet. Yeah. Or it could be that there's some kind of weird connection with cybernetics and all this stuff here. I'm not skeptical as I was a few years ago, to put it mildly. Something is going on that is surprising to a series of intelligent, experienced pilots, and we'll just have to see what it is. Asked how he would define his mindset, Woolsey said, openness to new things, nom nom nom. Willingness to examine them, nom nom nom. Hope that we can be friendly and able to deal with a wide range of behaviors in terms of dealing with our fellow human beings or other creatures if they exist. Yeah, I'm sure they'll look at Woolsey and be like, oh, nice guy, just meddling with other people's elections.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just
no,
ridiculous.
He basically gave the same version of, are there aliens?
Yeah.
If we did, if there are, it's for good reason.
Yeah, and again, I keep mentioning this, but I really think that whether it's all at once or slowly, we're going to start seeing some stuff, like the impact of this, of the government really starting to release information.
Right.
I really have a gut feeling that it's going to start affecting education, public education.
We do have slightly different ideas on this. I don't think that the public is going to get any information. But, okay, no, I would say I do agree with you. If once Congress gets all this information, as far as what intelligence agencies know about alien life. For those who need catching up, there was a bill, or there's a part of the coronavirus bill that required intelligence agencies to tell Congress everything they know about aliens. I don't know if there will be a full public disclosure, but it will be interesting to track what Congress does from now on, from the top to the bottom. I think you're right. It could be as easy as education or curriculum stuff, or welfare programs, or of course military programs. And we might not be told the truth, but I feel like you're right. If we watch what Congress does closely after this deadline, we might be seeing some interesting trends opening up, maybe not opening up, but setting up the foundation of legislation for a world where aliens are known about.
And explored in a serious way in terms, because think about how it would affect the ivory tower of science if they said that like UFOs are real, there's some kind of electromagnetic technology. Because I mean, it kind of makes sense in my mind anyway. There's all these Russian papers that talk about how, and I've mentioned it before, how there's ways to isolate from the Earth's magnetic field, and if you do that, you can kind of move through space. Yeah,
gravitational field.
Right, you can get away from gravity, move through space very, very quickly, and stuff like that. Not just that, but then the narrative about like the theory of evolution can start to change, because if there was aliens, did they change us? Did they change our genetic structure? Like those types of conversations would start entering into academia in a more serious way. Like if Congress is serious about it, surely we can be more serious about those conversations in the ivory towers of academia. And if you think about culturally, it's already been taking place. I mean, you look at Joe Rogan. How many people has he had on that are like ex-UFO or like UFO experts or like experiencers or whatever, and people that are like fairly credible in their circles come out and say like, yeah, we have stuff, or yeah, there's stuff going on that's not being public or whatever. So it's almost like it's inevitable in that sense, but the disclosure hasn't affected some of the foundations of society in a way. Like it hasn't affected our governments publicly anyway. I mean, obviously privately and black projects and stuff like that, I'm sure it's all over the place. But in terms of public understanding or public awareness, and also education's a big one. I really think education is going to change, or at least be impacted, and that'll be a much more potentially paradigm shifting type of thing. And again, not a single alien has to reveal himself for them to start moving all the narratives and everything, even the scientific world, in that direction.
Yeah.
But it would kind of make sense that we're in that phase now, post pandemic, post coronavirus. It just feels like, okay, let's bang out this one thing, the big pandemic to crash the economy, the reset, all this kind of stuff. And the big reset isn't necessarily just the economy, but it's going to be this worldwide, the foundation, the basis by which things are understood. And we are kind of coming to the end of a good era, a good chunk of time that was based on materialism, philosophically, materialism, reductionist stuff. You can say secularism or atheism. And we're very much, and the entheogens, Entheogens, that's part of the conversation too, I think. That is also this like new spirituality, all that stuff. It seems to be part of this great change. I think we're really upon that at a much more foundational level than people expect. So anyway, I just rant about that stuff.
There you go. It's a productive segment, man.
Oh, you think so? Let's see if Joe thinks so. What do you think, Joe?
Oh, it's really a productive segment, man.
All right. We got Joe's approval.
Okie dokie. Well, what do you think? Are we good?
I think we're good.
Okay. And Gantz, it just occurred to me. Now, it's no surprise that, especially once we started doing this show on Face Like the Sun channel, that I'm sure you have been inundated with messages and comments from people who, are a little surprised by the googly eye man. And it's, it's no surprise that you may have gotten some negative comments as you switched your attention of the channel from creating your videos to sharing a podcast that we've been doing for years, by the way. It's not my personal fault that but now in this moment when we are not streaming on Face Like the Sun, and everybody who made it this far did it on purpose, this is now the moment, everybody, where we have to start the campaign, the blitz, the letter writing campaign to Gons to give him some positive feedback about Basil, because I think it's all this negativity that's got him questioning if I have something positive to bring to the Age of Deceit series. So right now, this is the time we're starting the campaign. Inundate Gonz's Twitter account, his email account, the comments on videos. Tell him how much you just love the googly-eyed man. We got to convince him that it's worth a spot on Age of Deceit. So there you go. You can find him at Face Like the Sun on Twitter. You can go ahead and send him an email, facelikethesun@gmail.com. I think. Is that your email? I don't even know what your email is. Hold on. Let me double check that. Yep, that's it. All right, there you go. But other than that, folks, thanks for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Just a heads up, we'll be back on Friday. That is April 9th. Friday, April 9th. Put it on your calendar, put it on your schedule, and most importantly, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for Canary Cry Radio YouTube channel.
Like, subscribe, bell button, all. Like, subscribe, bell button, all.
That's right. Turn on notifications if you don't have it on this channel yet. And next time, trust us when we tell you that you have to, you got to follow us in multiple locations. It's just crazy talk not to do that. If you haven't done it yet, remember there's twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio, and we're also on DLIVE. And when we get more locations, we will let you know. Okay, what do we do now? Oh, and remember, on April 9th, we'll need more producers of the show. If you have, been holding off, maybe you haven't been in a mental state where you wanted to produce the show. Remember, it's not just about keeping the show going, although that's a big part of it. It's also a personal rebellion against the complacency and the mind, the brainwashing, the mind control of the advertising industry. I think, pray about it. See if it's time to step up, become a producer of the show, because it's the only way that it works, and it's value for value. So, get involved in a way or in an amount that means something to you. That's as simple as it gets. And you can do that by heading to patreon.com/CCNT for Canary Cry News Talk. That's patreon.com/CCNT. Or you can head on over to canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. canarycryradio.com/support. Yeah, you know what's interesting, Gons? Producer Malik, who has been a producer of the show for quite a while, very consistently, he was just mentioning that he wasn't subscribed to the Canary Cry channel.
Ooh.
And so that just shows you, you take it for granted when you get something in the same place for too long. But Malik, I'm glad you made it over. Okay, let's see what I say. Okay, producership, great. Oh, and if producing financially is not in the cards for you, that's totally okay. We don't want anybody to feel pressured or stretch themselves in any ways that they shouldn't. But you can also produce the show in a myriad of ways. You can create art, create jingles, create music, theme it all around the show, and send all that into canarycryradio@gmail.com or canarycryradio@protonmail.com. You can also produce the show by, let's see, what am I doing here? It's also very helpful when you leave ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you can leave ratings and reviews. Again, it's kind of hard to explain, but basically, the more ratings and reviews that we get for the show, the algorithms see that it is worth sharing with people who have not heard it before. So again, it may seem like a simple thing for you, but someone out there searching for the truth might actually find the show because of your rating and review. So you can have a much bigger impact than you might expect. So head on over to Apple Podcasts, search Canary Cry News Talk, and leave a rating and a review. And while you're there, subscribe to the podcast version. Okay, you got a little warning here. We've been telling you we could disappear from YouTube at any minute, and it did happen. Now, subscribing directly to the podcast is a great way to make sure that you'll always get the show. The podcast version is not a live stream, but it is much better sound quality, and it's posted after every live show. So you don't want to miss that as well. Again, go to any podcast player you enjoy, and go ahead and subscribe to Canary Cry News Talk. And lastly, you can help out the show by sharing it. Share it out on your social media. Send it directly to a friend. That's the way it works. That's how podcasts, make their way from person to person. You need to have somebody you trust. Recommend it to you. So share it on your social media, your Twitter, your Facebook, whatever, or just send it directly to a friend because you got friends and family who are beginning to wake up to the fact that the world is not what it seems, and you can help them out. We call it rattling cages, and if you need any other instructions, here's what you do. You walk right up to them, you grab it by the cage, and then you shake them.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. All right, Gons, you got any last words?
Episode 322, Skull and Bones. Next one.
Oh, yeah.
Next
Special
episode.
322 producership.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, go ahead. Come on. This is the time. We got to use their own sacred numbers against them. Become a producer of episode 322. It's going to be great. It's this Friday. Head to canarycryradio.com/support.
Yep.
And also, one last plug for canarycry.community. Go do it. Canarycry.community. Get connected. It's a anti-Facebook, no algorithm social media. It's a great place. People love it. All right, folks. Remember, we'll be back April 9th. So be here or else. Thanks for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.
Nazis are not welcome here. Do not come back, you Nazi psychopaths.
They are scum.
Stop this progress before it is too late. Sinful generation!
Everybody loves waffles.
Come on, man.
feces. Aborted feces.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
I want to shake things up, shake things up. I want to shake things up, shake things up. Leave the bird alone. I want to stir up some controversy. I want to rattle a few cages. I want to rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Little guy. Little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.
While the world is waiting for a savior, in the meantime, do me a favor. Don't be surprised the world you live in. Same old story, it always has been. Rich and powerful plot to control us. Proud and evil and soulless. Take your shots and mask your face. It don't help, do it anyway. So what if the death counts the same as last year? You test positive, now you're on a respirator. Biding our time, biding our tongues, losing our mind and killing our young. Biding our time, biding our tongues, losing our minds, killing our young. Disconnected from the real world, unessential and virtual. You can't work and you can't play. Better be careful what you say. Re-educating you the Eastern way. Corruption so deep, it's everything they say. Stay home and stay away. Don't go to work, don't get paid. Take your shots and mask your face. It don't help, do it anyway. So what if the death counts the same as last year? You test positive, now you're on a respirator. Biding our time and biding our tongues, losing our minds and killing our young. Biding our time and biding our tongues, losing our minds and killing our young. Biding our time and biding our tongues, losing our minds and killing our young. Biding our time and biding our tongues, losing our minds, killing our young. Biding our time, biding our time.
Fun fact, I believe it was another fun fact. Fun fact. Another fun fact.
brings me back to my Screamo days.
In the future, humans will be confined in a people's zoo.
I'll keep you safe and warm in my people's zoo.
Everybody loves waffles.
I'll keep you safe and warm now in my people's zoo.
Demonic power!
You, yeah, you in my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on.
Everybody loves waffles.
Come on, man. Aborted feces.
Make you fat and sassy in my people's zoo. I'll make you fat and sassy in my people's zoo. You, yeah, you, yeah, you, in my people's zoo.
I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.
You can't handle the truth!